Hello everybody, it's Claymore here and welcome back to the CLAYCAST. And today I'm doing something that I haven't done ever in the history of my podcast. I've got my very first guests on today. And the podcast, as you can probably see from the title, we're going to be talking a lot about Tarkov today. Obviously, I've set up a bit of stuff on my YouTube channel with quitting it, saying I quit it, and it's caused a lot of discussions to be had, and I think it'd be a good way to capitalize on it with two players that I know have been playing as long, or if not longer, than me on Tarkov as well. Today I have with you Ultimate. I've known him for a long time now. I think we know each other primarily through Reefstone's chat, a mutual friend, as well as Twitter's. And then I've got a good friend of mine who I go as far back as I can't even remember, but JawshPawsh as well. Right, Ultimate, go ahead and introduce yourself, mate, properly, and tell us how you started Tarkov.
Hey guys, name's Ultimate. I started Tarkov in the extended alpha, actually, back in 2016. I played because of Clean, actually. Surprisingly, my first day of Tarkov is his first day of stream. It's actually his stream anniversary that he does every year. That's how I remember every time. That's how many years I've been playing. So every time he does this like stream anniversary thing, I'm like, oh, it's been an extra year I've been playing this. But yeah, I've been playing since 2016. I bought the game by accident, fun fact. Back then, you have to purchase it through we still have to purchase it through the FT website, but it actually went through a third-party vendor, which was Zola.
Yeah.
Zola back then didn't convert the prices, so it would be like in rubles, and I was like, I don't know what is this? So I was like, I just clicked on purchase, and I was like, it's probably gonna ask me what kind of currency I want to buy it in, so I was like, I'll buy it in Canadian dollars, and so I went on continue, and I just bought the game. And back then I was in college, and it was like $175 or something like that, and I was like, I don't have the money for this. And here's the fun part too, and it'll conclude the intro, but when you bought it back then, you actually didn't get guaranteed access unless you had EOD. And I bought, wasn't Edge of Darkness the one before it?
Prepare for Escape.
Prepare for Escape, which was like a 50-50 chance. So it was a 0% chance for the base. It was a 25% chance for the second tier. Third tier was a 50% chance, or 75. It was like a weird bracket. And then the EOD was guaranteed access into the alpha. And so when I bought it, I was like, I just spent $170. I don't know when the beta's coming out. I don't know when I'm going to be able to play this. And I got an email like 10 minutes later. It was like, hey, you were invited to play the Escape from Tarkov Alpha. And so I started playing Tarkov that day. Most confusing game I've ever played. Honestly, still is. For different reasons. But yeah, that's me. I've been playing for, what was it now, like 6 years at this point.
Proper OG. Yeah.
I put many hours that aren't even counted. So people are like, you only have 4,000 hours? I'm like, yeah, there's probably like another 4,000 or 5,000 that's not in there. Hours aren't counted until 0.8. So I'm just like, yeah. But yeah, I've been playing for a very, very long time. I've been here. I've seen every wipe, every patch. I've seen every change. Yeah, I've seen pretty much everything Tarkov's been through. So that's me.
Very good.
Let me ask you this. Now, do you have the Alpha armband?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Okay, I don't.
Just to bounce off something quick as well, is that, like, you know, I tell people that I have little over 10k hours in the game. They see my account. You've only got 7k. Where's this other 3k come from? And I have to remind them that at some point when you upgraded to EOD, you had to full reset your account, stats, and everything.
Yep.
So I have to tell them that, and I do have a couple of thousand as well, 1,500 on my alternate account, my challenge account too. So, yeah.
But every time you wipe too, your total time played would wipe as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you have a lot of hours that just vanished.
Yeah, it's okay. People just kind of flex them anyways, like it means anything.
Yeah, you look at my huge internet wiener. Yeah.
Yeah.
This game, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's like, yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and go. Hi, I'm Josh. I've been playing this game since October 2017. I have presumably somewhere between 9,000 and 10,000 hours. Again, as Clay just said, that number has been reset. My current in-game timer is like 7,834, I think. I've played this game a lot. I've played this game too much, entirely too much. I love this game to death, and it's weird having this constant struggle in my head about loving this game but also not loving this game, and that's something that I'm sure we're going to talk about here in the future. In the next preceding hour or two, we're going to be discussing things. I'm also probably what I consider to be, and now I don't know the actual validity of this, but what I'd consider to be one of the first tournament winners that's ever existed in Escape from Tarkov. I participated in what was probably the first tournament ever, before Evasion, before anything was ever held. We had a community tournament hosted by Team Shakedown, which was a team that I was a part of, a stream team, when I first started playing Tarkov for a long time with a bunch of other smaller streamers, kind of just getting to know each other. Yeah, there was just a lot of people in the community playing in that. Dottie was in it, Dottie Hack, a lot of people know him. There's Dab and Wee Wee. I believe Arson was in it as well at that point in time. Some Man was in that tournament as well. Myself, BK Sal, there was a couple other people. Perk was in it. This was just a lot of the smaller streamers really just getting together, just doing a 3-man tournament and fragging out. And it was a 150 million ruble prize pool, which I took home 50 million of. So it was a really, really fun tournament. And it was kind of good just getting in early on the tournament scene and just absolutely slaying and just being like, yep, I'm good at this game. Watch my cool stuff. Thanks for the 50 mil, idiots.
Yeah, I remember watching some of long ago, some gameplay of Josh's stream, and like just probably one of the, I think it was alongside Kings as well, but one of the best Shoreline players I've seen, and will ever see, I'm sure.
Of my almost 10,000 hours, I would say probably 6,000 of them are spent on that map.
Definitely, yeah. And you know what? As much as people might disagree with this, Shoreline is a fantastic map. Just needs a bit of love, a little bit of love.
Yeah.
Right then. So these are your guests today. So obviously, I personally know Josh and Alt for a long time. I'm good friends with them. Interacted them a lot over Twitch, social medias, etc. There's a couple of reasons I decided to bring these guys on over other people. At least first, one is that they've been playing the game for a very long time. Like I said, longer than me even. And that gives them a very unique insight that other players who might have picked up the game 1, 2, 3, even 4 wipes ago might not have. And it's, insight as to how the game worked back then, gives you perspective. But not just that either, but there's one thing I will say as well. I know that sometimes, like any one of us, we all let our passions get away. We, riff a bit on the game and be a sheep, but we've all seen the gradual shift into things either negative or positive, whatever. And there's a lot of very, very clear, very calm and sensible discourse about it too. We talk about the problems, talk about the good things, and my interactions with Josh and Ultimate have been, I've butted heads. I think not butted heads, but I've agreed and disagreed with some things with Ultimate, for example, over Twitter and stuff like that. But we always come away feeling better because of it. Josh just yells really angrily at Tarkov, and I'm just like, yeah, keep giving me the clips. Yeah, nice one. But yeah, so these guys have a really good insight and perspective into the game, and it's important to have this. So with that being said, with insight going as far back as you guys, I will start off with you, Josh, this time. At what point, now this can be recently, since the new patch and stuff like that, completely can be, what would you say was your absolute just favorite glory age of Tarkov? Like, you don't have to give a rough patch, maybe around a time before or after a system. Oh, there you go then. But yeah, talk about it. What was your favorite part of playing Tarkov?
Glory age for Tarkov for me was, I believe it is 10.7. Ultimate may know a little bit more about this than me personally. It was the patch before Labs, and then subsequently the Labs patch, which was 11.0 if I remember correctly.
Yes, we got Labs in the middle of that wipe, right?
Yeah, 10.7 was the MP7 launch patch.
Oh yes, yeah.
I think that was like 6 months into my Tarkov tenure. So I was kind of at the point where I was getting a little overconfident, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of good at this game, I can kind of clown on some nerds a little bit. So just launch patch MP7, just stomping around Shoreline Resort, jumping off the roof, balcony dropping people repetitiously over and over again, just doing absolutely just goblin stuff, just over and over and over again. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And it's probably a bit dumb that you can do half the things that I used to be able to do. But for me, that's when things were just the most fun, was just running around and just slamming my big dumb forehead into 5-mans over and over again and winning most of the time.
I mean, that was the era of, being able to wear an eye case in your backpack, or like 2 of them, and just picking up every single little thing you possibly could have stuffed it in there. A lot of that stuff, I think with stuff and being able to jump off roofs and stuff like that, sure, looking back at that now, that was pretty wacky. I would say that would fall almost like just outside the realm of like arcadiness, like a bit more funnier stuff. But there was such a charm to it, man. There was such a charm to it. Just being able to kind of like have I would argue way more possibilities of approaching fights back then than you can now. You know, it was good. It was good, and like you said, sometimes it was just way more gratifying just to charge headlong into teams, just see how many you could down before you fall over yourself, or if you don't even fall over, you manage to wipe them all. Definitely, the MP7 patch was. Nobody didn't use that gun. Nobody didn't use it. Yeah. Yeah. Right then. Well, yeah. So 10.7, good one actually. That was a good one. And Ultimate, same question to you, mate. When was the period of Tarkov that you really, really, really had your golden age in?
I would say that for me, and for many reasons, the golden age of Tarkov would have been 0.8 and 0.9. And there's a few reasons for that. 0.8 is when we introduced mag packing. And there was a bunch of other changes as well, where like you couldn't see the ammo count anymore in magazines, because before 0.8, when you checked magazines, it would actually tell you the perfect ammo count. So if you had a regular Stanag mag that doesn't have a clear visor on the side, it would tell you like, oh, you have 24 rounds left or 18 left or whatever. And they actually introduced mag packing, which was something the communities wanted for a while. A lot of people were kind of against it because Tarkov was very fast paced back then, and people weren't. There was no downtime. It was all like push, put the bullets in the mag and just keep pushing. Like you would fight, you run out of 4 mags, you would just instantly pack 4 mags and jump back into it. So like the firefights were pretty intense. But mag packing was the first one that started to slow down the firefights a little bit, and people were a little bit more conservative about their ammo. And even though you could put a mag case up your ass, it didn't really matter. But for those that didn't know about it, you could still you had to pack mags. And 0.9 is actually when Tarkov started to expand into what it is now. And that was the introduction of Reshala. That's the first boss that we've got into Tarkov. And that was when Tarkov started really to become a good game. Or not, I wouldn't say a good, it was already good, but like a much better game. You kind of could see the future of Tarkov with that wipe. It was, it made everybody excited for the future. You know, they were teasing other bosses as well. We had Instagram pictures of like pre-modeled Killa.
Yes, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Back then, but we just knew there was going to be a new one. And they were really starting to show off bosses, a little bit more of the lore. So that's when Tarkov really started to kind of take off in terms of expansion into the more in-depth Tarkov that we have today. And it made everybody super excited because like, I can't wait to see what else they're going to add into this game. Like, are we going to eventually get, you know, airdrops was actually a conversation point back then, and which we have now. You know, there's a bunch of things that we have nowadays that people were talking about back then. And I really think that's where Tarkov really shined, because everybody was excited for the future of Tarkov. Nobody was worried. Nobody was, you know, kind of stepping back and looking at everything. They were just excited for the next, the next patch that was coming out. So it's definitely the glory days for me.
I think you've more or less nailed it there, to be honest with you. I mean, I personally started like 3 weeks left of 0.8. And that's when I started properly playing, was 0.9. I think the first 3 weeks of me playing were mostly hatchet and pistol running. I actually met Reeve through a streamer who I ended up hatcheting one of his teammates on Factory. I remember him sending me the clip on Twitch and stuff like that over in the in-game chat and stuff like that. You are right. Back then, it felt like everything was just up. Everything was just up. You know, the game had its problems, obviously. Like, you know, like it always has done, going back as far as that, especially. But like, I think it's right. Everything felt way more, I want to say, innocent back then. Like, everything just felt a bit more straightforward, a bit more linear in terms of like what we were getting, what we were expecting, and stuff like that. You know, the community was smaller too, so you know there was the core that we know today was like way more prevalent back then. Yeah, no, I agree, and the hype around Reshala, you know, the people flooding to customs, that was like not really very much played. Like, I remember the incredible fights we had around dorms and new gas station and stuff like that. Like, yeah, no, it was really, really good. And, you know, I agree. I think that's when the game started really kind of like branching out. Yeah. And, you know, I saw clips of people like instantly filling mags with ammo and stuff like that. And I never knew that personally, but yeah, we still had, back when I started playing, we still had the instant med animations and stuff, and running around spamming 4 with your Salua and IFAK, you know. Yeah.
And speaking about that, the mag packing was the first one, and they talked about med animations after that. I think it was like probably like a month after they introduced mag packing. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, medical animations are coming.
Yes.
And
yeah.
People were mad. People were like, I don't want to sit there and repair my limbs. I was
Yeah.
like, it's gonna be. Even I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know. I don't want to sit there and just like watch my guy fix his leg. Like, it's kind of. But then it came out, and I was like, this is so good for the game. Like, it's you actually have to retreat and fix yourself, or you got to be more careful about what you're doing.
And then that's it. I mean, the majority of changes we've gotten have always been received. I think it's always been about like a 60-40 response. 40 are like, you know what, I can see this. 60 are like, nah, I don't think this is good. But I will say with Battle State, they've always managed to make the majority of new features they've brought out. They've almost always managed to get the community as a whole to warm up to them. I think weight and inertia were systems that definitely and still to this day divide people more. Luckily, these aren't like systems that are difficult to change. It's just a matter of changing, parameters and like code lines and stuff like that, like they did recently with the armor and stuff, and reducing the penalties and everything. But I do agree there. I do agree that the
because when did medical animations come out? I thought it was like 0.10.
It was either 0.10 or 0.11. I remember.
I think it was before the MP7.
I think it was. Yeah, like
I think it was 10.3.
Yeah, because I think you're right about that. Yeah, because back then we also had, it wasn't art common, but we had soft wipe. Well, not soft wipes, but temporary wipes. I can't remember if it was that far back or not. But
it was soft wipes because sometimes you would just wipe the account, but it wouldn't wipe the skills.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, we've got a couple good glimpses there. MP7 patch with Josh, or just before it, and going back is pretty much when I started playing 0.8 with Ultimate. Good points there. So speaking of the recent patches and stuff like that, now obviously when we planned this podcast and stuff like that, we didn't get the news and the patches we did recently. So we'll do a quick before and after. I think it's important to do that because I think the reason why the patches came was because a lot of people, Veritas Clean included and stuff like that, and yourselves included too, they really shone a light on I would say the excessiveness of some of these systems that BSG were, like tuning up, obviously. It wasn't the scavs, it was the armor felt bad, the stamina felt bad, the weight system felt bad, so on. So we'll start off with the before. So before these recent patches came out for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the wipe, start with you, Ultimate, this time as well. What were your impressions and how did you feel about how your character felt, how he moved, and your experience during it?
Absolute disaster. It was actually, the wipe came out during the drops. I had drops. And the first day that I played this, and I'll remember too because I said it on stream, I started playing it, and I think it was with Dottie and Kodak, and we were playing, and I was like, I'm playing this for the drops, and I'm never touching this again. I was like, there's no way, because that was the first day that I played the patch. I was like, I'm playing this just for the drops.
Wow.
And I'm never touching this again. Because I was like, there's no way. Streets didn't run well, and we've been waiting for Streets for years. There was rubber banding all over the place, which was kind of understandable. The wipe just came out, but like the excessive amount of rubber banding was beyond annoying. The guns that still didn't feel good. The performance was shot everywhere. The audio system was worse than I think Tarkov without Steam audio, and it pretty much is. Especially there's delays. I tested this with one peg just to off branch for a little bit, and we tested the audio delays and stuff. There's actually like a huge delay when you cross like a corner of a wall to like transition to non-occluded audio, and there's actually a part where you're like your character has no audio to that person hearing it, and I would run into one peg from a corner, and I was running into him for like 2-3 seconds before he turned around and said that he heard me. Like there was a huge delay. And I was like, this is worse than when Tarkov didn't have Steam audio. Like, this is really bad. And I was just, there was so many things that was going wrong with the game. I was just like, there's no way this is what we've received for a Streets patch. I was like, the guns don't feel good. The audio doesn't feel good. The map doesn't feel good. It's a beautiful map. It didn't feel good to play. I didn't want to play it.
Yeah.
The scavs were bugged for a while, which it kind of happens almost every wipe, to be honest. The armor felt useless. You couldn't buy enough things off the traders for a while. You're kind of stuck with like nothing. It's just there's so many like balancing issues too here and there that I'm just like, I don't know why I'm playing this. Like it's not enjoyable for me. At least if I could shoot my gun without it becoming an astronaut, I'd be fine. But like I was shooting at the stars on like my second round. I'm just like, this is not fun. I can't fight people. Like I just have to like lay down and then wait. And this whole Tarkov was like a waiting game because nobody wanted to push. Because if you had to jump on someone, it was easier to kill them than just running into someone and then hoping your gun hits them, because the recoil was like absolutely insane. It wasn't a good patch. When it first came out, it was not a good patch. It's probably one of the worst ones that I've played. I'm not gonna lie. Out of all the wipes and patches that I've had in Tarkov, this was probably the worst one. It's up there. It's definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, I came back to the game after essentially a few months into at the end of a Lighthouse patch. I stopped playing. I didn't play the entirety of the wipe after. We've got the Lighthouse expansion, and then I came back to this one, and I mean, I literally quit. There's a video on my YouTube saying I quit. You know, so if that doesn't tell you that the start of this wipe at least was probably one of the worst in Tarkov's history, you know, I don't know what else to tell you. But yeah, fair enough. And Josh, same question to you, mate. What was the first 2-3 weeks like for you before these recent patches?
Oh boy, I'm gonna try and keep it a little PG here because I can definitely go off for hours on this particular subject. So typically, I've played a lot of wipes. I've played this game a long time, as we just talked about a couple minutes ago. Typically, at the beginning of a wipe, I can maintain a 10 plus KD with a 75 to 80% SR for at least the first month of the game. And then it gets to the point where like I've kind of got maxed out traders. I don't really care anymore. I'll just do dumb shit all day long, right? So like I was having a hard time staying above 50 and staying above 4 KD. Everybody felt like a one-tap wizard. Armor was impossible to acquire, it felt like, without just sitting here refreshing fence over and over again and hoping to steal an untar that I could maybe get. But getting, one rat rig every 2 hours, and then just having to run P.A.K.As over and over again, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible, especially when most of the things that killed me at the beginning of the wipe wasn't particularly, people just getting the jump on me or cheaters. It was actually AI. I died to one-tap AI. Probably, I would say, in my first 50 raids of this wipe, I would say 35 of them. I would be that bold. 35 of those deaths in that first 50 raids, yeah, it was that bad for a while. Was the AI scavs. I have clips. I have clips of me getting one-tapped by a sniper scav at like 260 meters. I have clips of me getting one-tapped by a Saiga 9 scav at 160 meters. It's just like, there was a lot of overtuning issues at the beginning of this wipe that were really, really a big issue for, I know, not just me, but a lot of people. And a lot of people kind of got scared by that. And then ultimately, AI scavs, they did get tuned down a little bit. And I've died a couple times to scavs here or there. But that's really, it's neither here nor there. Scavs are going to inevitably get you. There is a certain amount of inevitability to them, where if you pardon my French, if you fuck around, you will eventually find out.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting here just doing dumb things with scavs, like lean peeking, trying to get that quick little headshot on them over and over again, eventually their MOA is going to line up with your face, and you're going to get blapped. That's just all there is to it. And so a lot of it, could come from overconfidence. But for a while there, it wasn't just the overconfidence that was getting me killed. It was a lot of overtuning. Kind of to spitball a little bit on what Ultimate said as well. I think that early wipe trader accessibility is abysmal. It is absolutely just abhorrent. To the point where for the most of the early wipe, I literally just used the PP9, like the PP19. That's all I used. Just because you don't get access, like they moved PS to Prepper 2. So you can only use hollow point rounds for literally the SKSs or AKs or the Peppers for the entirety of your first 14 levels, I think. Whenever Prepper 2 unlocks. It might be 14 or 16. I don't know. And I don't care.
16. I'm pretty sure it's 16.
Okay.
Or 15 or 16. It's one of the two.
It's somewhere in that mid 10 to 20 bracket. But yeah, it's just like like all of the bullets for every gun other than exclusively PSTGZH for the 9x19 caliber just felt incredibly inconsistent. You would sit here and just even if somebody would bring in like you'd have that one chance where you'd run into the guy that's wearing not even like not even the P.A.K.A, just like the what's the little turd salad green camo?
Beads.
Yeah, that little dinky one that you just find on scavs and you're like, ew, I don't want that. Like you'd have people that would run around in that, and you would mag dump them with an AK with hollow point rounds, and that's all you.
They even moved up PST.
Did they? Oh, that's right, because it's 2 now, isn't it?
No way, right?
I think it's 2. Yeah.
Yeah, so you only have access to PSO now, which granted it has like 21 pins, so I mean it'll get through the little dinky
Yeah.
armor, but you know, like it's just like when you get to that point where everyone is struggling, nobody can kill each other, and then also AI scavs just dump on your face over and over again. It leads to it's just a large culmination of feel bads over and over and over again. And admittedly, much like Clay, I announced that I was quitting the game shortly after they had fixed AI. I just was done with it, man. I
Mm.
didn't want like it's all about time invested. If I'm not having fun playing this game, I'm gonna go do something that is enjoyable. And eventually, it just got to the point where like I didn't play the game for I think it was like a week and a half is where I was just like, I'm gonna go do whatever the hell I want. And then things happened with a certain content creator named Veritas, and he released a video. And we'll talk more about this later, I'm sure. And V's video is it was the catalyst to the fire under my ass that wanted me to play Tarkov again. And we'll go into that more in a bit, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of like link between what both of you said regarding the state of the AI, things being overtuned, trader accessibility, and stuff like that. You know, at the end of the day, I think the absolute fundamental of a video game, even Tarkov, which, you know, doesn't hold your hand, there's like, they have a handbook in game, which doesn't really tell you a lot, but it's there. But all the new player's experience really is before this wipe. You start, you have no idea what you're doing, you go YouTube or Twitch, whatever, watch some guides, watch some streams, whatever. But then you see these streamers and these YouTubers having a really difficult time because the AI are overtuned, because they can't buy whatever they want from traders, because, you know, the guns are even guns as low, naturally low recoil as the MP5. These things are wobbling about the place, you know. And I think what's important to at least do as a developer is try and remember that your new player experience has to, at the very least, hook them. And, you know, previous wipes, I think that was the case, you know, like every wipe has its issues, and, you know, trader accessibility and scavs being difficult, I think has been a consistent thing at the beginning of a wipe anyways. But before, it felt like at least more players and you as a player had a chance, much bigger of a chance against, at the very least, other players. But everything that for the first 3 or so weeks of this wipe felt less like, okay, this is hard because I don't have my skills anymore. I don't have my gear anymore. I feel naked and afraid. This is hard. It felt like, for me at least, more like it was just, like what Josh said, a constant culmination of feels bad experiences. I was getting stomped on every single time. And just to kind of bounce off what Josh said as well, my average survivor rate, I think, previous wipes would be probably between 70 and 80 for the first, I don't know, month or so. I'd get like, you know, better ammo, better gear, and then other people would catch up, and then they'd have better ammo, then I'd go die a bit quicker. And nearly all the time, I think I've ended wipes on around 65% survivor rate with thousands of raids in. But this wipe, I think I averaged, and I think I still right now average 50 odd, something like that, with your survival rate. And, you know, people could sit here and say we're all washed, you know, and, you know, you're not good at the game anymore. But then we look at everybody else talking, and then we look at everybody else having an issue and stuff like that. And there are still absolutely amazingly cracked players. For example, I don't think there's anything that can stop players like Willers, Ghost Freak, you know. Nothing could stop them. You could put a boss with 3,000 HP in front of them, and they have a Pipish, and they'll still figure it out. You know,
yeah,
but
I mean, Willers is the shroud of Tarkov. Like,
he is, yeah.
He'll adapt to it, and he'll make it good.
Yeah,
like, it's just he's one of those really gifted players that every game gets, and he's the one for Tarkov. And no matter what they throw at him, he's still gonna be okay with it. Like,
absolutely,
he's still gonna do good. They could remove armor in the game, and I think Willers would still have like 80% survival rate. I wouldn't.
Agreed.
He would find a way. He would. I don't know what he would do, but he would find a way.
But that on the flip side, you know, that's not the standard of a Tarkov player. You know, these guys are, in the politest way possible, they're freaks of nature. You know, like they are absolutely out of their mind, nuts, cracked at not just their Tarkov, but every other game they play. Like I said, natural shrouds. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, I think one of my main issues personally with what they always do at the beginning of a wipe is, and you know, they haven't said this. This is my theory. But I think they purposely overtune a lot of the systems, whether it's AI, weight, stamina, etc., whatever. I think they purposely overtune a lot of it just for the sake of slowing down player progression. Because
I've said this before too.
And
every time there's a wipe, AI is always a pain in the ass. and we're just like, why are they one tapping me again? What is happening? And
Yeah.
then we complain for like a week, and then BSG's like, oh, we turned it down. And then the next wipe's gonna happen. And it's like people forget. It's like people are like, oh, I've completely forgot that. And then the next wipe happens, and again, the AI is cracked out, and you're like, what is happening? This again. And I remember too, because I said it, I was playing with Dottie, and I was like, they've done it again. He's like, what, the AI? I was like, yeah, they do this every wipe. Every wipe, they overtune the AI scavs because they try to change something on them. And then people just get absolutely dumpstered because level 1 traders have like 2 P.A.K.As per 10 million players. And you're like, you're just going out there getting one tap by shotguns, and you're like, okay, well, this is not fun. And here's, I just want to add this too, if you don't mind. I think global limits for level 1 traders need to go. I think that has to go.
I agree.
Introduce global limits at level 2 and further, but level 1 traders should always be available. Their stock at level 1 should always be available.
I agree completely.
There's no reason for level 1 basic stock to go out. There's no reason. It's not good, but it's enough to survive. At least the scavs. And I understand if level 2 and above have global limits and then they run out of stuff, I completely get that. But level 1, there's nothing on level 1 that warrants having a global limit. It just hinders players that are either starting the game or just hinders people at the start of a wipe, and it makes it super annoying and frustrating for everyone that's playing.
Yeah, and that's the new player experience I was talking about. Like, you know, you've got to ease them in. Even with Tarkov being as difficult of a game as it is, you've got to still ease them in somehow. Like, you know, just leave an impression on them. And yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, and I think that, you know, when it comes to overtuning these systems or doing these things on purpose, you know, you're not really giving newer players a good impression either, you know, because, and you have to remember one thing too. One of the biggest things we asked for when we got Inertia, the first few iterations of it, one of the biggest issues people had wasn't with Inertia itself. It was when scavs didn't have Inertia, when AI didn't have Inertia, when they could still do everything we could do before, but, you know, they don't have any of their delays, that sliding and stopping and whatever. You know, that, but then we take that and then we overtune them again to the point where AI are able to do something we couldn't hope to do. You know, it kind of just, a lot of clashing decisions that BSG make, and I think for the sake of stalling progression, there are better ways to do it. And I think at the end of the day, I think they have to put a little bit more faith and trust in the player base anyways, because if that is
speed,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, if that is your solution to stalling and making the first, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks on average of a wipe difficult and slow, if that is your solution, you need to do a bit of introspection, realize that that's not going to hold up, especially when the game fully releases. It's just not.
If I could interject for a second.
Go for it, Josh. It's your turn anyways.
I guys use the washroom if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go and I'll join.
All right, cool. So one thing that I would kind of like to say regarding these particular things we've covered in like the last couple minutes here is that if you have people like us who have played this game methodically for years and we are just having an absolute terrible time, like, imagine, you know, I'm not saying that we're above, you know, all of the plebeians that just started to, like, I'm not being an elitist regarding it.
Yeah.
But I am referring to the fact that, you know, we have experience. Like, we know how to, you know, properly peek scavs. We know how to properly approach areas that could have scavs in them. We have high traffic areas, how to approach them to see player flanks and that kind of thing. We have a lot of, like, underlying knowledge that's a little bit of nuance to this game that a lot of new players don't have. And that's you know, kind of just shock therapy. It's just us of playing this game for so long. We know where we've died from. We know where this screwed us over. We know where that screwed us over. And the thing that is kind of weird about it is if us, the people that are the veterans that have been playing for a long time, are having a bad time, think about these new people coming in, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know that they don't have the nuance. They don't know the maps. They're just blindly, you know, stumbling around maps, just hoping to get this quest done or get that quest done, but they don't know where that stuff is. They don't know where to farm this item for this retrievable quest. You know, like, some people, it was like some wipes, you go and check the subreddit and you have people that have, you know, they're like 4 or 5 weeks into the wipe and they don't even have their Saluas done yet.
Yep.
And like, that's like the 3rd or 4th quest in the game. And for me particularly, even doing scav runs to try and get one, getting a 133 for like the first quest that you even have in the game, it took me 4 days. It took me 4 days to get one shotgun out of raid. And it's just like, that's pretty rough, man. Like, you have people, and again, going back to the subreddit, and I know the subreddit's It's a terrible, terrible place. It's
Yep.
this de-evolutionary like spiral of just absolute chaos. That's all the subreddit really is. Hi, I'm banned from it, by the way. Anyway, but just looking at it, the number of times I would see like a post of like, yeah, me and my buddies don't want to play anymore. This shit's getting too hard. Yeah, me and my friend Dave over here, we don't like Tarkov anymore. We're gonna go play Apex. And like, I get it. There is some people that will come into Tarkov thinking it's a bit more arcadey than it actually is, and realize that the game's much slower than Apex would be or Call of Duty would be. But that being said, the game doesn't have to be so slow and so hard that people that are coming into it for the first time are like, hey Ben, you want to come play Tarkov with us this wipe? I know you've never played it before, but it'd be a good time to get in. And they're like, yeah, I'll come join you. And 2 or 3 raids in, they're like, this game fucking sucks, and they just leave.
Yeah,
like it's this. I understand the devs wanting to make the game hard, and they want the beginning of the wipe to be more challenging to ultimately stunt player progression. But the problem is that good players are going to be good regardless. They're going to fly through progression regardless. There's no stopping them. I got killed by a dude that was level 40 like 6 days into the wipe. Yep. Like it doesn't matter. Like you slowing things down, the only people that you're actively hurting is the new player base coming in and just trying to learn and enjoy things. And like, I get making it hard. I like it being a little hard sometimes, true. Anyway, but it's just, don't make it so hard that it's not accessible for people that want to just try the game for the first time. Or people like this, maybe their second wipe coming back, and last wipe, they're like, man, last wipe was really hard, but I kind of want to give it another try. And then they come and they just get dick punched again for the second time. They're not going to come back to playing Tarkov. That's how you get rid of players, in my honest opinion, right? It's just, I personally disagree with it, but that's just me.
No, well, I mean, I agree. Going back to the new player experience thing, like, it's good that Tarkov has this kind of reputation for being a really hard game, but it's also got a reputation of having, whilst it has low lows, as high highs. You know what I mean? Like, and they want to market it, keep it that way. But I agree with you. Like, making things more difficult just to stall progression, whether it's for the grinders or for everybody involved, whatever. Ultimately, you're not doing any good for the game. What you're doing, especially for the players who've been playing a lot for a long time like us, you're adding layers and layers of frustration that will reach a boiling point. And for newer players especially, who don't have the nuance and the insight and the experience we have, I would disagree with one thing you just said. I think we are above the newer, less experienced players, because we've put years into this game, years and years, tens of thousands of hours in some cases, or close to. At the end of the day, we have something that a lot of these newer players who've been playing for a couple of wipes don't, and that is the knowledge and the know-how and stuff. And when we have all this knowledge and know-how, that we have had to, of course, we've had to adapt to certain things as time has gone. We've adapted to the weight system, we've adapted to the inertia system, we've adapted to meta animations, ammo changes, armor changes, stamina changes, go on. We've all adapted through it, and eventually we've come to appreciate it. But then, when we get a wipe like this, and we are having a bad time, and we are struggling, and even our knowledge and the skills we had from previous wipes, not the in-game skills, our skills as players, when we can't put that into practice because the game just isn't making it hard, it's just not letting us do it. That's an issue, a really, really big issue. So regardless of that, I think the majority can agree that people will have fun no matter what in Tarkov, even during its rough parts and other parts, but it's undeniable to look at the first 3 or so weeks of the wipe and say, this was a good experience across the board. If you agree with this, then I need to swap my glasses with yours, because I want to look at the world through yours. With that being said, though, the first 3 or so weeks being abysmal, we did get 2 patches within 24 hours of each other. We knew about one patch coming in on its way. We got the usual late patch notes being announced on social media and other forums and stuff like that from BSG. But the day before that, we got something, I think, just like the first 3 or so weeks were unanimously, or the majority hated, the majority loved. And that was a lot of the recoil changes, whether it was the gun recoil or visual recoil being nerfed, or I say buffed, I suppose, the way around. Not so horrible, obviously. Stamina changes were adjusted. Weight limits were adjusted. Armor penalties were adjusted too, so you could wear armors, not feel nearly as much like you're wearing a set of armor that's 5 classes higher than the one you're wearing. We got all these changes. And one more important, really big important change that I think that a lot of people really did feel an improvement from was the reduction, I would say pretty big reduction of stamina loss when being shot. So, I'll start with you, Josh. Ever since these patches have come out, especially the other one recently when we've got a lot of the audio updates and stuff like that, and other adjustments, technical fixes mostly, what have you been feeling since the first, at least the initial impression of these patches?
Yeah, so basically, like I said, at one point in time during all of the nonsense that was the first couple weeks of this wipe, I did quit. I did not play for about a week and a half. And then it got to the point where, I started seeing some, the itch never goes away. Like Tarkov is just one of those things. It just kind of just sits in the back of your head and just eats away at you a little bit. You're like, man, I was having a little bit of fun in that like 8-hour session. Like I'd say like 15 minutes of that 8 hours was kind of fun. So it's just like, I kind of want to, try it out again maybe. So I started just doing only scav runs. And it was really, really fun. I would just do scav runs, and then I would tab out and play another game for 20 minutes. And then once my cooldown was done, I'd come back and do a scav run. And every single time, chat could join me, and we could just run around and just do hood rat shit on interchange. Like, who cares? It's just for the fun of it, right? And like, I didn't really do any PMC runs at all up until these actual recoil changes were announced. And so I was just like, all right, now that some things are being changed, stamina is being changed, recoil is being changed, I might try to do some more PMC runs. Like whatever, we'll give it a second try. And lo and fucking behold, did I have a good time. I genuinely did. Like it's just, there is with how bad, and I think that a lot of newer players don't really understand this because they haven't played. Like they're like you'll see Trey arguing with people on Twitter routinely about like, you played 2 wipes, you don't know what old recoil felt like. And it's 100% true. There, like before this last week and this round of changes actually came out, I would say 60% of the guns in the game you feasibly could not use.
Oh,
like
agreed.
Without like with some amount of just error or just this marginability of your recoil being so uncontrollable, you could not win firefights at all. And it's just like now there are guns that you can just be silly and have fun with. I was running around. What was it? It was like last Wednesday. Or this Wednesday rather. Like the day of the patch, the day of the recoil patch, I used the Keter the entire day. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I mean, obviously the Keter is not the best gun in the world, but it does damage, and it shoots fast. And if I could just shoot somebody in the knee enough times, sure, they're going to crumple.
Oh yeah, Miss Dunk would definitely agree.
Oh,
the Keter
absolutely,
Queen.
Absolutely. But it's just like when you make the guns that aren't good feel fun, people are going to be inclined to use them. Then on top of that, now that the guns that were good are better, more people are going to start feeling better about playing the game because they're going to have higher results. They're going to get more kills. They're going to survive more raids. They're going to be able to, laser scavs at 100 meters and not worry about getting, face tapped by a Saiga scav. Like, it's just when you reduce the margin for things that would make you angry and you increase the margin then for things that you enjoy about the game, ultimately the game is going to become infinitely more fun. And granted, I have not tried every single gun now since the recoil changes have been done, but I've seen a lot of clips. A lot of AK platforms are doing very, very well. A lot of the 5.56 NATO platforms are doing very, very, very well. The P90 is once again usable. One of my favorite guns in the game. Just throw in some L191 and just slap dick with that thing. It's so much fun. But a lot of these guns, particularly like SCAR platforms, were really, really bad. The G36C was really, really bad. The 5.56 MDR is really, really bad. Even the 308 MDR was, I mean, people would just use it as a DMR. They would just single tap with it. But like you couldn't feasibly use it with full auto just because, you're giving yourself whiplash every time you pull the trigger. Like you're just ripping your own head off every time you just kill yourself with it. It's ridiculous. And now that that's been changed, the spectrum of guns and weapons that people can bring into raid has just increased dramatically. And a lot of that, people are ultimately going to settle on a metagame regardless. But for people like us who kind of stay away from the metagame, like, I mean, I'll definitely run metaguns. I'm not gonna say not. Like, I love going sweaty sometimes, but it's fun to take out the off meta gun on occasion. Like it's fun to be like, oh, I want to use the 5.56 MDR. and slap a voodoo on it and just kind of just fart around and just do dumb things like that.
Yeah.
Or I want to use the MP9 today and just try and snipe with it. Like it's just like really really dumb things that people don't typically think about, but when the guns feel better all around, you can go do dumb things again, and it can still be enjoyable for you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely well put. I mean, at the end of the day, especially in regards to late game guns, or at least late game builds of guns feeling better too, you know, that is probably one of the best ways you can respect a player's time of progression is by making sure these weapons and the parts that go on them make a difference. You know, you look at before the wipe, you would look at a Vector, see it's got 21 recoil, like, this thing is not going to move. But then you'd use it. It wouldn't feel like a gun that has 21 vertical recoil, you know? And at the end of the day, you have to reward players and their time. And when you do that, when you make these guns and the parts that go into them, the high quality, when you make them feel like the gun transforms the gun into something that's just nasty to use, people feel better about that. But like you said as well, at the end of the day, these meta builds can be very expensive. Maybe you want to run either a mid-tier build or a different gun that performs at a mid-tier level. You can do that now. And across the board, I think, yeah. But yeah, Ultimate, same question to you, mate. Last few days of playing since the patches have come out.
Yeah, I've actually come back to it. I stopped, so I haven't played Tarkov properly in about 2 lives now. Been here, played it, but would stop about a month and a half in. It wasn't a Tarkov that I enjoyed, and it didn't feel like the Tarkov that I enjoyed, and it just wasn't for me. And I still love Tarkov. Like, don't get me wrong, I would still play it when the white would come out. I would check out the new features. I would play for a few weeks, but then I would ultimately just move on to something else because I was bored with the game. I was like, it just doesn't feel like what I enjoyed. It was much slower paced, and then I had to fight my gun. I had to fight my PMC to actually get into firefights. Like I felt like I was fighting my character, and it wasn't fun. It just didn't feel good. But this new batch of patches, I'm not fighting my PMC anymore. I'm not fighting the camera. I'm not fighting the recoil. I'm actively winning firefights. I've played yesterday and the day before, and I'm winning firefights with overgeared players that are 30 levels above me. So I think I'm still level 15. I've killed 2 decked out PMCs that had SA-58s and Corans and stuff with M855 out of a shitty MDR with a red dot on it. Because it feels like home. It's not quite the old Tarkov recoil, but it's close enough to where I'm confident and comfortable playing and pushing and actually doing things. I know my PMC is not going to struggle bus and have to take 2 inhalers for his asthma as soon as I run across the steps of stairs. I know if I jump, I'm not going to lose 3/4 of my stamina bar.
Yep.
I know if I get hit by a 9mm in a hard plate, I'm not going to lose 75% of my stamina and then have to stand in the middle of the hallway getting decked by some other player that just saw me get slammed. Like, it's a lot of these things change the dynamics of the firefight for the better. And I think a lot of players who used to play before all of these changes are actually going to be a lot more comfortable and a lot better at the game because they know it, they've played it, and they feel at home. Like, I feel at home right now in Tarkov. I definitely feel much better about the game. The camera recoil, probably the most abhorrent thing that's ever been in this game. I hate the camera recoil. It doesn't belong in the game. It's stupid. You would shoot a shotgun, like you shoot a double barrel with like magnums, and you would look at the ceiling if you shot both barrels at the same time. I'm like, this is stupid. It doesn't even make sense. I can't even keep track of my target when I'm shooting. Like, you're just all over the place, and it wasn't fun. And then this one thing I wanted to reduce was the camera recoil, even just get rid of it. But they didn't get rid of it, but they reduced it enough to where it's not nauseating to shoot. Like, you can actually shoot. Like, and people don't know this, but it actually transferred over to like the mounted machine guns, where you can actually use the mounted machine guns.
All right.
Going completely insane, and you can't even see what you're looking at. So the camera recoil is definitely a plus. The angle of recoil on the guns is definitely a plus. The stamina hit when you get hit by bullets shouldn't even be a thing. They should have just outright removed it out of the game. That's stupid. I don't like that for various reasons.
Adrenaline Satan, please.
That adrenaline, yes. But not only that, a lot of the guns had issues with eye relief when shooting. You would just be shooting out of a black sight.
Yes.
Full auto, and the camera recoil actually moved your physical PMC's head, and then it would just like black out the voodoo, whatever, and you couldn't see what the fuck you're shooting at. You're just shooting at nothing. You're just hoping. And now it doesn't do that anymore. You can actually use sights, and you can actually still see the eye relief is really good the whole time you're shooting. there are some guns that need to be adjusted a little bit. Especially 5.56. I don't know why 5.56 has such insane initial recoil. But if they just reduce initial recoil by like another 20% on a lot of these platforms, it would probably be in a much better place. But yeah, overall, it feels better. It feels like it has potential if they keep going that route. And it honestly feels like I can get into firefights and be confident again. Because before this patch, I didn't even want to get into firefights with PMCs because I knew it was either I was going to get the first shot. It was like a coin flip.
Yeah.
You either get the headshot and you kill them, or you get a good RNG on your recoil and it hits center mass more than he does, and then you just end up killing him, or you're fighting your gun and you're like, am I going to get fucked by my gun? Is my gun going to recoil up to the left and then I'm not going to hit anything while it's coming down and I'm just going to get killed because, I'm not running the RD meta no recoil build that everybody else is using. It's one of those things where you're just like, I'm fighting my character and I'm fighting the game to win.
Yeah.
That's not fun. Nobody should have to do that. So it's in a really good spot right now. It's in a really good spot. I can see myself coming back. I'm like slowly easing myself into Tarkov. Slowly, I'm playing a few raids a day, slowly getting back into it to get that itch again. But it's there. Tarkov is definitely in a better spot right now.
Yeah.
Much better spot. And
the hook is in. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to thank a few people for that. Honestly, Trey was one of the big advocates for it, but also Veritas. Veritas is honestly godsend. That guy is godsend. I don't
He's
care
the
what
Messiah.
says.
I love
don't care
him.
What anybody says. He gets a lot of shit for no reason, and I don't get it. But he's such an analytical person when it comes to these things, and he does such in-depth research that it actually convinced people at BSG. Like, you can't hate on the guy. He actually convinced developers to change their mindset.
Yep.
Because he proved these things were wrong and how it could be much better.
Yep.
And I think we have a lot of people have a lot of thanks to give to Veritas for this, honestly.
I agree. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like you said, there are other creators too, I think, thank for stoking the fire, so to speak. But I think the one that really poured gasoline on it was Veritas. And the video I watched, it's watching all the old footage and stuff like that. Obviously, the nostalgia card. We all want to go back to those days of Tarkov. Everything felt better back then. At least in our memories, it did. But at the end of the day, what Veritas has always done is remain as, like you said, analytical and factual as possible. It's not hardly that much of an opinion piece with Veritas when he does these videos. It's way more of like, here's the evidence that I've put hours and hours and hours into researching. Here's all these results that I've also asked other people to cross-reference with. And here is generally what all these numbers and these facts are pointing towards. Like, I remember he went around tons of people doing audio testing and stuff like that, giving us all clips and stuff like that to kind of listen to on stream and stuff. And, like, he does that. He makes the effort. And honestly, I know we've had, like, I think Anton is probably super famous for his old armor testing videos and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was Veritas who put the numbers there. It was Veritas who did all these stuff. And I agree, like, at the end of the day, I think that I don't know exactly where it started with people always thinking of Veritas as being like this constantly angry, nasty, overly blunt guy. He can be cranky, but I think the reason why he's cranky most of the time is because he's having a good time and someone will come in and say something that just, like, what the fuck? Why would you say that? Like,
I think
seriously,
it's just honest.
That's it. It's honesty. And
if you're stupid, there's just gonna tell you you're being stupid.
Yeah, that's it.
It is what it is. You're being stupid.
Genuinely,
I don't know what to tell you.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing. Like, I mean, but nearly all the time, as long as you present yourself a certain way, Veritas will always talk to you in a way that will try to better you. You know what I mean? Like whenever I've had conversations with him and stuff like that, scenarios in which maybe a lesser version of me might think, what are you being a dick for, bro? But then he'll actually like, wait, what's he actually trying to tell me? He's trying to make me activate a couple of neurons here. You know what I mean? Like, he speaks to you with the intention of educating. And I think that's where a lot of the bluntness comes from, is because of that. And
I think people are just not used to that. We live in a space with content creation where everybody has to be nice.
I will.
Fuck that.
I will.
Converting to everybody in it.
I will come to this in the next segment.
I don't get that. Like, he's a human being like the rest of us, and
Yeah.
he is being raw and honest about his feelings about you being stupid or you're being an idiot or you're wrong. And people don't like being told they're wrong by streamers. They really don't like that. I've been told many times I was wrong by Veritas, and I've always listened to him. And this is gonna be off topic a little bit, but like when I was in college studying cybersecurity, I had a few things that I had to ask Veritas because I knew he had knowledge in it. And he would literally take an hour out of his stream, not like an hour off stream. He would take an hour on his stream to do it on stream to show me and potentially show other people that were also interested in the same subject matter. And just show like how this is how you do X and this is how you do Y and Y does this because of X, and he would take an hour of his day just to show me to make sure I understood it. And if I didn't understand it, he would do it again and he would start the explanation again to make sure I got it. So like he's one of those guys where I think he's really honest and he doesn't put a fake veil of content creator in front of him.
No.
He'll speak to you like he'd speak to someone in person. And a lot of people aren't used to that on Twitch, I think. There's this little like, I'm a content creator, I should be nice to people who are idiots and not call them idiots because they're being idiots. So there's this thing, especially with Tarkov, there's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to.
We are gonna
mean
talk about
so,
this.
like,
Yeah. But I mean, going back to
we'll keep it.
yeah, because this is literally going to be the next thing I'm going to present to you guys. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you guys are raring to go on that topic, though. I'm glad. But what does Veritas mean? The actual word, exactly. It goes right down to this core branding. Veritas means truth, and that's I think what.
Sure, anyways.
Yeah, no, it literally is. Yeah, it's Latin for if it's Latin, anyways. But it means truth, and I think that's what Veritas.
Truth,
yeah, it's what it's always strived for.
Satire 5 backwards.
We know what Veritas' secret band is like. No wonder he plays all the guitar all the time. No wonder, right? But yeah, I mean that's it. And it goes without saying. If I would tell any of you viewers, any fellow content creators to keep an eye on YouTube channels, especially Veritas would be one of them. I especially love his History of Tarkov docuseries. Almost that was just a constant nostalgia trip.
I wish I could have been on that.
Same, man.
I didn't know Veritas that well back then. I know him more now.
Yeah.
But back then I didn't know him as much, and he didn't know me as much. But I wish I could have been on that because there's so many things I could talk about. Like old Tarkov, man, it's ridiculous.
Aye. Right then. So we've got the the good and bad recently of Tarkov's patches and stuff like that, the wiping stuff out the way and done with. Now, this is something I think that for me personally was one of the main driving factors for me quitting Tarkov. And this isn't something that was new to this wipe, previous wipe before that, even 2 wipes before that. It's been in a steady accumulation. And I'll put a time frame on this, and maybe you viewers or my guests can link up with this. Point 12. Reserve came out. Twitch Drops campaign began. Flood of new players. Game servers were dying for like a month and a half because there were so many new players. Since that point, there has been a steady decay of the community. Now, to preface this, especially too, and I think this distinction should be made as much as it shouldn't have to be very clearly explained. The community and the people within the community are 2 very different things. They're not exclusive to each other, though they're exclusive to each other, I should say. Sorry. If we talk about the state of the community, we are referring to the community, not necessarily all the people within it. So before you start saying, everybody in the community is bad, put your fucking pitchforks down. Okay, we know that. That's not what we're talking about. But for me, one of the biggest reasons why I quit was because of the steady decline of the community, sportsmanship amongst both players and fellow streamers alike. Being right or being better seemed to be way more important than just being a cool person to be around. And we still saw this in many streamer circles, many community circles, and for me personally, I absolutely, and I'll be blunt, I absolutely abhor the state of the community right now. I absolutely detest the state of not being able to talk about something you don't like about the game about being labeled as negative. Or, like if it's something opinion based, it's always shot down as, rather than, like being polite about it, it's like, well, that's your opinion, and because it's your opinion, it means you're wrong. And even if it's talking about something that's very clearly broken, the audio, for example, the amount of people that actually said, yeah, well, this is probably what Battle State want. We don't know, so there's no point getting negative about it. And the same goes for the state of the AI too. Oh, well, I like them personally harder. I mean, we know maybe Nikita wants the AI to be difficult, and this is for me. This is where people look down on you for wanting to talk about the issues, and they would very clearly line that up with you either hating the game, hating BSG, or just being a negative person, rather than, hey, I just want to talk about this problem for a second. Generate some dialogue about it. So, Ultimate, I think you've been a bit more active in talking to people within the community since the start of the wipe. And I'm and I remember, like I said, we've played back and forths ourselves. Previous wipes too. The community, talk about it.
I mean, this is gonna end up being controversial, anyways. I hate talking about this because there are people who are going to get upset, and I can't stop that.
That's what this podcast is about, man. We talk about the good and the bad. So fire away.
The community is, honestly, it's probably one of the worst communities I've seen. And it's not just because of the player base, but it's also because of some streamers. Like, it's such a toxic environment, especially on Twitter. It's kind of wild. I've seen people get doxxed. I've seen people get death threats. I've seen people get their entire families doxxed on Twitter. I've seen drama span for months over a single word. I've seen people calling and getting people banned for no reason. There's so much, like, I've seen people tag other people in like drama that was over and done with, and like take an image of that streamer and then put it under their like subtweeting them.
Yep.
And then it starts shit again, and like it's like a constant fight of like clout chasing almost, and like ego testing other people, and just being like a whole like high horse trip. I don't know what's going on with this community.
L plus ratio.
And I've stayed away. I can't say I stayed away from it because I
know. I've seen you.
Certainly did not.
You didn't stay away from it. Absolutely not. No.
But I am tired of it. I am so sick and tired of it. It's annoying. It came to the point where I've actually muted so many people on Twitter, and like, just because I'm tired of seeing that drama on my feed. Like, sometimes I partake in it because I'm strongly worded about certain things where I think you're being an asshole, and I'll tell you. But there's a lot of people who just start shit for absolutely no fucking reason, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't have time for this. But it's such in a weird place because the community itself is toxic, and people are gonna say, but it's not everybody in the community. It's not. I get that, but League of Legends is toxic because a lot of people in the community was toxic. It's known as a toxic game because of that. It doesn't mean everybody in the community is toxic. We all know that not everybody's toxic in the community. Everybody knows that. Nobody is saying, it's not like a blanket statement that everybody who plays this is automatically toxic. But it's just the community is known for being toxic, and Tarkov is known for the same thing. It's so bad that the developers don't even want to go on Reddit because it was toxic. Like, the community is so goddamn toxic, even the developers don't want to see it. Like, it came to that point where they stayed off Reddit because they're like, this is too much. Like, this is ridiculous. And it was like that before the Twitch drops, but it wasn't as bad.
No, it was the minority. Yeah.
Yeah, but now we've got a lot of higher profile streamers. We've got a lot of way more streamers in general. And we have a lot more people in the community, whereas it came to a point of like, it's like a boiling pot that is like full. And it's just nonstop shitting on other people, like constantly. And it's ridiculous. And I get it. Some people deserve it. I completely understand that. Some people need to be called out in this community, and they are being called out slowly. But there's a way to go about it. And then it's just, some people also interject themselves into the drama that they don't even belong in to start off with, just because they want to get in the drama. And it's just like, holy man, like, the community's not in a good state. I don't care what anybody says, it's not. Like, there are some wholesome people in this community, there are some amazing people in this community, there are amazing content creators, there's some amazing people that you'll talk to in game.
The core,
the core community is really good, but the few outliers are so loud that it makes the whole community look like that.
I do agree. I agree completely with that. It feels like rather than the minority, it's become the majority now, and the amazing people, the amazing content creators and stuff like that, like, they are doing well regardless, and they're still doing what they do and being amazing people. I think easily one of the biggest cornerstones, I should say, of the community, in my opinion, alongside Veritas, is Sigma. Someone who literally based their entire brand on evasion and lifting people up that didn't have 1 or 2K viewers.
There's a lot of people who need to compose themselves better as big content creators. You have a place to make the game less toxic, and that but then you're also being toxic. So your viewer base and your people who follow you will follow suit and do the same thing as you are.
Yeah, I mean, we only need to look at Rengar and the recent things that are happening with him as well. At the end of the day, say what you want about Rengar. At the end of the day, I do believe that the fault of what happened with that person getting banned falsely did lie predominantly with BSG because they didn't research it. They didn't look at the reports of the logs. And Rengar can say this as much as he likes, he has a position. He's had a very big position within the game for a long time now, and even if he didn't mean to do it, at one point he should have stopped and thought, okay, am I absolutely sure and certain that this person was cheating before I send this report off? Am I absolutely certain? Was this person flying in front of me, hovering like a Super Saiyan from Dragon Ball Z, drifting around? Was this person obvious?
Or, just like this, maybe use the report feature like everybody else.
Yeah.
Insane logic. I know this might be crazy for some bigger streamers. Just use the report function like everybody else and stop going through personal avenues to get people banned because you were upset. No streamer, and I don't care how big you are, should have a personal avenue to BSG to get somebody investigated. Everybody should use the same avenue of the report feature. I know it sucks, and I know Battle Eye is not the best thing on the planet, even though Battle Eye is really good. But it's not the best thing on the planet. People are still gonna get through it. Everybody should use the same report feature. Nobody should have a special care to report. Or the BSG themselves should make a Discord channel where they upload video clips of people cheating, and then they can go based off of those and investigate people personally. But having a personal avenue that 99.9% of the community doesn't have feels like favoritism. And at the end of the day, if that person wasn't cheating, you get them banned. That is kind of falls in the category of toxic behavior where you shouldn't be doing this. And I don't care how controversial this take is. I personally don't think anybody should have a personal avenue to report cheaters and make sure somebody gets banned within 10 minutes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But again, not on Rengar's fault for getting him banned. Well, I mean, kind of is because he's kind of started it. But BSG should have done a better investigation on the person when it did happen. But if nobody had that avenue to begin with, we wouldn't have had this problem to begin with. So. And
the I think the lack of grace, especially in the mistake that he made, the lack of grace, and
the subtweeting baddie because he took like a picture of what baddie did and then he posted under the baddie. Just to start shit again. And I was just like, stop doing that, bro. Why are you doing this?
And that right there, I think that kind of like loop of behavior. I think that's something a lot of streamers, players, whatever, they need to shrug themselves out of. Maybe it's an age thing, a maturity thing. I don't know. I know you Americans only can feel one emotion at a time, so I don't know. But I mean, but the thing is like, yeah, but we all do. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I've been toxic to people as well before. But the point is you learn from these things, and you're graceful in your mistakes. And there's not a lot of grace with a lot of people right now. I don't remember another instance. Another streamer got involved with Nirmana, the Oi guy. Who's been devil's advocate for the longest time and stuff like that. Sure, he's. I think he's clearly set himself out as to be the poking the bear kind of guy, sometimes. But the guy came after him and started like accusing him of the streamer with 1,000 viewers. Started just the stuff he was saying was basically enough to prompt things like threats and stuff like that. That prompt and awaken the nastier side of the community. This isn't specific to the Tarkov community, but it seems way more prevalent within the Tarkov community than ever before, and it just needs to stop. There needs to be more, in my opinion, there needs to be way more scrutiny on players who do this, like there were with Rengar. At the end of the day, I don't believe in bringing other content creators down. I do believe, however, if it is for the benefits of the community and for your peers, certain behaviors need to be outed, rooted, and just made out to be. This is not okay. Don't do this. Don't be Rengar. At least in this, don't handle it like Rengar. Either way,
I think it's
yeah.
I think it's okay to be called out, and people need to be called out sometimes. I've been called out. Many people I've seen
As have
have been
I.
called out.
Yeah.
It's okay to be called out and be like, yeah, stop your bullshit. You know, it's kind of stupid. You're being an idiot right now, and you stop doing that. It doesn't look good for the community. It doesn't look good for anybody else, and you're just gonna put yourself a target, and people just start bagging on you for no reason.
Because
and you know,
the thing is as well is like now that the community is in the state it's in, you do something like that, it's gonna stick with you. It's like gum on your shoe. Like it will, people will always follow. Weren't you that guy that got that guy banned because you got butthurt in a video game? You know what I mean? Like that's gonna stick now, and that's why you should be graceful. It's unfortunate. Yeah,
because like I know he was heated, and when people get heated, they do stupid shit, and it's understandable. It's just that it sucks, and I feel for him that he's gonna be stuck with.
Yeah,
stupid
I'm not gonna sit here and say, you know, like that. I think he deserves that lasting thing. I think it should just be a clean cut. You made a mistake, learn from it, look like you've learned from it, move on, be better. But
we all know how these communities are. That's going to stick for a long time.
Indeed.
And it sucks because then it's going to fall into his chat and people are going to start being toxic to him. Like it shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why?
Right then, let's get Josh involved finally. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, this is the juiciest bit we've all been waiting for. So we definitely popped off. So go for it.
So just piggybacking what Ultimate said, I'm one of those people. I have connections. I know people that I can send clips to, and I know that if I send a clip to this person and blatantly cheating, I'm more than likely capable of getting them banned. Now, granted, this is not something that I have done recently. This is something that I predominantly did when I was actively playing Tarkov. You know, like I've kind of just barely been playing Tarkov. You know, and it's just this was back when I was actually playing that I could send these clips to people. I'm not going to say names. I'm not going to say who I'm going to send shit to. But admittedly, yes, I have done this before. And yes, I've probably gotten people banned before. And do I think that I should have that power? Absolutely not. I don't think that should exist. I should not be able to be like, hello, X person, this person is cheating, get rid of them. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I didn't do it. Like I have enough, you know, fucking self-worth to admit that yes, I've done this before. I've absolutely done this before. And I personally think that maybe Tarkov should adapt some sort of peer review system. I always like that about Counter-Strike, I believe is one of the games that does something like that. Where, you know, like, hey, this happened. These are the two players. This is X's clip. This is Y's clip. You know, let's take a look at it. You know, let's see if maybe this person is cheating or not cheating. You know, let the crucible decide, if you will. You know, and I don't think that people should have that power. I agree. And I'm not gonna sit here and, you know, I think we've talked about Rengar enough at this point.
Yeah.
It's not something that I want to run into the ground.
Exactly.
So moving on beyond that, yeah, I did it. Hi, I'm an asshole. You can call me that. I haven't done it recently. I don't think people should do it again in the future. Moving on to the next one. Something about this community that I think is a very, very large issue is bandwagoning / clout chasing. That is something that and I can attest to this wholeheartedly. About 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, I had a really, really, really bad couple of weeks. I had a lot of things going on regarding my family. I had a lot of things going on in my personal life. Finances were tanking. I had lost my part-time job at the time. I was trying to make money and ends meet via exclusively streaming. And as anybody who streams knows, it's not a miracle cure. You're not just going to sit down and become a content creator overnight. It is a grind. You are not just going to sit down and Bill Gates is not just going to come in and be like, here's $1 million, kid, enjoy your life. Like that doesn't just happen.
Yep.
And I had to do a lot of learning and a lot of growing because I made a very, very long Twitlonger post about how I was fed up with streaming. I was fed up with my own community, not community as a whole, my own community. I told my own community to go fuck themselves because I was tired of just everything. Everything was overwhelming me. I had a fucking mental breakdown. I had a really, really, really bad couple of weeks. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I said that. I'm upset that I did it. I'm mad at myself that I let my own head control what it wanted to do, right? Like you know, like you don't want to be the bad guy. You don't want to.
No, of course not.
Like you don't want to say these things, but you know, it like Ultimate said, we're all human beings. Like we all have lives. Things happen. We're not just, I'm not just JawshPawshTV. You're not just Claymore. He's not just Ultimate. Like we're real identifiable human beings behind this computer screen here.
Yeah.
And things go wrong and things happen. And you sometimes do say dumb shit that you will regret, and I sure as hell do regret saying what I said. And that being said, and I'm not trying to like sit here and be like play the victim, like, ooh, people were mean to me because of it. I did something incredibly stupid, but because I did something incredibly stupid, I trended on Twitter. I was trending on Twitter. And I had people that were retweeting my tweet longer, calling me a piece of shit. I had people that were retweeting it that were just saying like, this is not what content creation is. This person should be banned from Twitch. They should not be part of Twitch anymore. I'm not going to say names, but I had a YouTube partner with 4.5 million subscribers. Yes, that number is correct. Openly call me out and say that I need to get out of content creation and go get a real job like a real adult. And like, as somebody, yes, I said something stupid. I did something I should not have done. I admit that. I own that. That's something I'm going to have to live with as long as I continue to sit here and produce content. That's just part of my history now. Kind of like the whole Rengar situation. I have to live with that. It's gum on my shoe. And that is just always going to be there. It's always going to be on the internet. You could probably fucking Google it and it'd come right up. But it's just when you have somebody that I've never interacted with this YouTube partner. I've never said anything to that person before. I mean, I know who they are. I've watched some of their videos. I enjoy some of their content. But when that person has a platform of probably 10 plus million people that they can openly broadcast to at any point in time for anything that they want, they could be like, hey, I really like pepperoni pizza. It's my favorite pizza. People are going to be like, yo, I fucking love pepperoni pizza. That shit's great. But like, if they also say, yo, fuck this guy, then that's 10 million people that are also going to be like, yo, fuck this guy, right? So like, I'm not saying that, that it's what ultimately culminates whether or not I'm successful on the internet or not. It's not my defining aspect. If people want to watch me, they're going to watch me. If they don't want to watch me, they're not going to watch me. That's content creation as a whole. But I am saying that when you have people that have never heard of you, never interacted with you, but are just suddenly going, hey, this thing is going ballistic on Twitter or on the internet or on Reddit or what have you, I'm going to jump on and I'm going to retweet and share my opinion about it. I kind of think you're actively being part of the problem. I genuinely do. Because at that point in time, you have no knowledge of the situation. You have no idea what could be happening with that person, or, like, you don't know what happened on the guy that got banned side or Rengar's side. Like, were you there when it actively happened? Like, were you in that raid? Were you watching Rengar? Were you watching the other guy play? You don't know all of the parties that are available to this exact situation of things. So when you just sit here and retweet L take Bozo over and over and over again, you're going to inadvertently force people to look at other people in a light that's going to be in a negative connotation, and you're also going to that person is like you could have just inadvertently shit on some dude's career.
Yeah.
Like somebody's coming up into the community. They've got a great YouTube channel. They just got YouTube partner. They just got 5,000 followers on Twitch. Like, they're feeling good about themselves. And then they have one bad day and they lose years of work. Like, all because you wanted to just be like, haha, this guy is trending, I'm gonna fucking tear him up. Like, is that fair? I don't necessarily think that is fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of doing that too. Complete strangers. Just because they're trending, and I look at the clip or the vid, then I do a little bit of reading and stuff like that, see where this all came from. Maybe look at the Twitch VOD if it's a streamer, get a bit more context, and I'm guilty of doing that too. As much as I do agree that calling out bad behavior is a good thing to set, social etiquettes and norms and stuff like that, at least within reasonable boundaries. I'm not like dictating how the community should be or whatever. Just call out bad behavior, But, and with Josh's case, for example, I was there. I was interacting with that post. I read what Josh put. And the first thing I thought to myself is, this is not Josh. This is a version of Josh that is very clearly having a shit time. And I had that context. The context was important for me. Reached out, whatever. And when I was actively trying to tell people, and I think I even interacted with certain bigger YouTubers or whatever on that same thread, and I was like, have you stopped to consider that maybe there's some context here you're missing? That maybe just at the end of the day, he's having a fucking shit time, and this is the only way right now he can try and get maybe a bit of a reality check on things, or try to reset things a little. Definitely context is important there. But when we do see, occasionally a random clip that paints someone in a bad light, I think it's important to make it a common practice. It's almost like reading a headline of an article and thinking, what the fuck? What is this? This is truth. you've got to look deeper. You've got to look past the headline, the clip, whatever. You've got to like actually investigate what's happened here. Then you can do your tweet. Then you can make a comment or a post. Then you're educated. You're making an educated opinion and decision. But I think bandwagoning is definitely a big thing. And I think that this is extended to many things in the Tarkov. I think bandwagoning, I can't say that word, bandwagoning, there you go. I think that extended to things.
The same thing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but then you look at the years-long attack on playstyles. Crab walking, you know.
Crab walking, rats and chat.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
But not only that, so there's also this thing, I don't think it's exclusive to the Tarkov community. I think that's pretty much every community that has this issue. People also think opinions are toxic. Like if you share an opinion that's different from
yes,
therefore you're toxic.
Yeah.
And you're like, but I'm not being toxic. And like I've been called toxic before just because I said that the recoil could, is kind of garbage and the game is not that fun. And I was like, that's kind of why are you being so toxic? I'm like, but I'm just sharing an opinion.
Yeah.
Like I get it. I can be toxic and I've been toxic before on Twitter, especially for people that I don't like because I didn't really care.
Yeah.
It might paint me in a negative light on Twitter. I don't really care about Twitter. Honestly, I've got out of content creation because I just don't have time. I have a full-time job. I work in cybersecurity. I don't have time for this shit. But whether people like me or not on Twitter is honestly, I really don't care. But I think there are people who care too much and become really, really heated in the moment when things happen, or when somebody else shares an opinion that doesn't necessarily jive with them, and they're like, "You're being toxic," and then they call those people out, and you're like,
"Hold up,
weird behavior."
Yeah,
I think it's just a point where people think you're being negative just because you want to be negative.
Yeah.
The problem is that there's nothing positive to say right now. Like if there was something positive to say about Tarkov, I would. But at the moment in time when that post happened, because I remember seeing it, there was nothing positive to say about Tarkov. Mm-hmm. The recoil was bad, the performance was bad, the new map was bad, the rubber banding was bad, the everything felt so terrible that there was nothing. What do you want me to say that's positive? The map looks nice. That's the only thing I can say. Like the rest of the game is a complete shambles right now. Like there's nothing positive. I'm not gonna say positives on things that are already positive and have been positive for years. Like the gunplay is great. I mean, what it wasn't, but the core gameplay of Tarkov is great. But I'm not going to say that because it's been great for a very long time.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what's happening right now. There's no good positive. There wasn't any positive, and that's why there was so many people agreeing in the community about Veritas's video, was because there was almost no positive to say about the game at that point when it happened. Like, I think it's okay to be negative sometimes. I really think it is. People need to show the negatives of a game and not just always praise the positive. That's how you get into an echo chamber, and that's how things don't progress. Like, things need to progress, and for things to progress, there have to be negatives about things, and there was a lot of negatives about Tarkov at the time. And I think people are a lot afraid of that, and then they call that being toxic and negative, which it's not being toxic. It's just showing an opinion piece and being like, yeah, this is not good. This is really not good, actually. And it shouldn't be like that. But regardless, it's Twitter, and people, it's hard to, you don't know the person you're interacting with on Twitter the majority of the time. You don't personally know them. And so you'll just say they're a negative person, but you've never interacted with this person before. You can't really tell opinion and tone on text either. Yeah. Then it's hard to perceive what they actually mean or how they mean it. And English is not my first language. So like sometimes I mean something else completely when I say it. And like people are like, well, that's kind of weird. I was like, no, that's not what I meant. But anyways, whatever. It's just, it's just Twitter being Twitter, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, the community is toxic, but the core community is not. Like,
of course.
There's a few outliers that bring that light forward, and it's bad. It puts everything in a spotlight when it shouldn't be, because there's a lot of good things in the Tarkov community. There's a lot of amazing things in the Tarkov community. But the few outliers just make it look like there isn't, and it's kind of weird. Yeah,
it's just a kind of sense of perspective. These are things that were obviously a problem in the game, but you can't talk about these problems anymore because it's an opinion. That's my issue. That's my issue. And as much as, I still respect certain content creators regardless of this, it's still quite disheartening to see this reflection of what's wrong within the community rub off on them. At the end of the day, I don't think that it's actually genuinely good for anything to always be positive. I just don't. You can look at the silver linings of things, you can do this or that, but there is no room for personal growth, whether it's for a game, for yourself, for other people. If all you'll do is lift up, and lift up, that's where you get other problems settling. But I think if we are going to look absolutely at a very big streamer who even chimed in on this and said, what the hell is wrong with people? Why are we all at each other's throats right now? Glorious. The guy has thousands of views. He has made it a effort, continuous effort, almost like it's a natural by this point, to just be sportsmanlike, to be cool, to be chill, and to talk and laugh with people. You know, like, he's being responsible with his audience. You know, he's putting across a good message. It's not like always be positive. It's just be nice. You know, be nice, respect people. You know, and him and many other streamers out there, definitely not Josh. You know, we just want to have a good time. You know, all we want to do is have a good time. We want to play the game that has done a lot of good for us in more ways than one. I mean, Tarkov's brought me to so many great friends, so much support, for not just me, but for my family too, you know, and we all want to just have a good time within this community and within the game. And when we talk about problems, it isn't to drag anybody down, or BSG, or Nikita down. We just want things to be better. That's all it was. That's all it is. But, you know, at the end of the day, the community has a long way to go. I think we can unanimously agree that there are things to be done, whether it's off Twitter or wherever, etc. It has a lot of healing to do. I don't know when it's going to start healing. Maybe this. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be cynical, but yeah, I don't want to be cynical, but
I think Tarkov has reached a point where it's so popular and there's so many people playing that I don't think we'll ever go back to the everybody knows everybody Tarkov community. Like, it's because we've talked a lot about streamers, and I don't like talking about other content creators, honestly. But I think sometimes it has to be done. But we need to talk about like the core player base. I mean, the player base is really bad. I mean, like the actual players, those that don't stream. When I mean player base, I mean like the people who play the game and don't stream.
Of course.
I mean, there's racist people, there's xenophobic people, there's homophobic people, there's the names. I have to report like 10 names a week, dude. Like the chat messages people are getting from regular players in Tarkov, the VoIP problems. I mean, the VoIP is not as bad as I thought it would be, but there's still some issues with the VoIP. People just ragging on streamers in general that aren't even like people that don't stream on Twitter that rag on streamers just to, you know, talk shit. Like Dottie has been getting that a lot from random people that just like, you know, just come on his post and just tell him he's a piece of shit, or for no reason at all, just because they want to be toxic, or like. So there's also, it's not just streamers, like there's a lot of people in this community that just in general are just players that are toxic and that contribute to this toxic environment. And it's kind of weird. I don't know why it started like that. Like I mean, Tarkov kind of had like these problems before, but it got so worse with like the Tarkov drops and stuff, where like there's a bunch of new player base, and I don't think that will ever go away. People are pieces of shit, and people will be pieces of shit because they're behind a computer and they don't care. And it's just what it is. Like, they're just going to be players that
anonymity prevails.
Yeah. So like, I don't think we'll ever get away from that. But I really do wish for content creators to stop being at each other's throat and just show the game in a more positive light.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Set the example.
Yeah. I like Rengar's content. I like his videos. You know, I believe he's genuinely a good person. I don't think he meant any harm when it happened. It just sucks that the drama happened. You know, I like Tuzi, I like Trey. They're amazing people that I follow on Twitter. I did just some parts where sometimes, you know, we're all human. Like Josh said, we're all humans. We all say stupid things sometimes, and it kind of backfires on you. And I just wish that instead of constantly being at each other's throat on Twitter, or their content creators being at each other's throat and like subtweeting and tweeting and sharing and just, I just wish everybody would be back in that tight knit circle that Tarkov used to be.
Yeah.
So we could go back to that, because I miss that. I genuinely miss that.
Me too.
And it's honestly, it came to a point where people are talking more openly about, you know, the Tarkov content creators because of what's happening. People are like, Jesus Christ, you know, like what's going on? And it sucks because they're all amazing content creators. Like, none of them have faults where I'd be like, I won't follow this person. Like, I don't want to talk to them. Like, I won't talk and play games with any of these people, regardless of what they've done. But it's just, I just wish we would go back to this tight-knit community again. And even if there's toxic players, there's nothing we can do about those people because they're just going to always...
They're always going to be there, yeah. But, you know, at the end of the day, especially when you are streamers of the sizes of the ones we've referenced and stuff like that, there has to be a degree of responsibility, and there has to be a degree of just give yourself that window of time to think before you do or say something you're going to regret, because you are going to regret it. And that's all. If we if everybody just, if everybody just, took that moment. Yeah.
I've done it before too, and like I've said
Yep.
things on Twitter, and I was like, and I got shat on for it, and I was like, you know, I posted that, or
Yeah.
I shouldn't have posted that, maybe it was wrong. I mean, that's fine. That's okay to, like I said, it's okay to be called out, and I'm okay with being called out. Like I don't mind it.
I think if
But
there
anyway,
was
the other thing
one,
before too,
yeah, if there's one thing I
people
would
were
be,
toxic, and it's just,
yeah, I was going to say, like, if there's one thing I would be critical of myself for, it is for subtweeting. You know, at the end of the day, I think it comes mostly from a place of the fact that I know what I'm going to get if I try to interact with these people. You know, like, I know exactly what's going to happen if I actually try to talk to them and try to just say, hey, do this instead. Go do this next time. Be better. But, you know, I'm guilty of subtweeting. I'm guilty of, you know, getting involved in things that I probably shouldn't have got involved in. It's come from,
I think we all are.
it's come from a place mostly of wanting the community specifically to be better. Sure. But at the end of the day, you know, sometimes you have to look at yourself and think, should I be investing this much energy? Unfortunately for me, being the idiot that I am, I'm very invested in Tarkov. I'm very invested in the community and the good people in it. And I don't like seeing the good people suffer, be drowned out, whatever, be just shouted out basically by people who, in my opinion, need not a lot of improving.
I honestly think, I honestly think the content creator Twitter space has become that way because we're so passionate about the game.
That's all. Yeah.
That everybody is upset at the game, not at the people. And then it's just, they're so goddamn upset that as soon as somebody says something different, they just go at each other's.
It's all there.
Upset with the game.
I don't know.
Think it's necessarily because they want to be at each other's. I think they're just tired of what's happening with Tarkov, and it just makes you angry at the end of the day. You just, God damn it, dude.
You feel cheated.
And
yeah.
And it's just, it sucks. And I get it. Like, I get it. There hasn't been like one content creator I'm like, Jesus Christ, you know, like, chill out. But I've always understood, if you look at it from like their perspective, you're like, yeah, okay, I get why you got angry at this. Like, it's understandable. And I think it's just, we reached that point in Tarkov where everybody was so upset with the game that everybody was just at each other's throat. And that was when the game, like, before it wiped, and then when it wiped, it was like the worst time for Twitter. Like, it was insane. Like, it was just a lot of toxicity. And I think it reflects the state that Tarkov's in, unfortunately. And I think people are just upset, and it's okay to be upset, you know? So, but I've had enough about talking about this. The community in general is kind of toxic, and there's nothing we'll ever do about it. It's not exclusive to content creators. I think it's
everybody. You know, it's not just a streamer community. It's everyone. And, you know, just to bounce off that one final time, is the majority of times I see, you know, like, this streamer has done this thing and they regret it, they apologize for it, stuff like that. At least in the context of Tarkov, it's always been, I've had a bad day in Tarkov, or a bad few days in Tarkov, or a bad few weeks on Tarkov, and it all just came out this way. You know. Yeah, we're already human at the end of the day. You know, it's important to recognize mistakes as humans and grow from them. Trust me, if there's one thing we learn more from, it's mistakes. They stick in our head more, they torture us at nights more than anything else, you know. But we learn from. So we had a bit of talking about this, you know. We can agree that the community has a lot of work to work on, but we're going to finish this on a good note, because I think this is fair. I think this is fair to the community, the people, good people in it, and I think it's still fair to the game that we are so sick and tired of loving, but we love it regardless. I will start with you, Josh, and then I'll do the ultimate, I'll come back to me. If there is 3, 5, whatever things that you could sit here right now and say what you absolutely adore about Tarkov, it could be from years ago, it could be from recently, the people in Tarkov, the game itself, what are 3 things that you'd say you take away that you just, nothing beats it, you just love it?
So one thing that I think that Tarkov has always gotten very, very, very right, and this is something that I will absolutely giga stand for the entirety that I continue to play this game, whether it be another 5 years, 10 years, whatever, you know, is, well, 2 things, actually. This can just be 2 of my things. One, weapon modifications. The way that weapon building works in this game is, for people like me who look at puzzles and love putting them together or taking them apart. I was the kid that used to take apart his PS2 and put it back together again just for the fun of it. And yeah, I know I sound old as shit when I talk about a PlayStation 2, but anyway, like, I love putting things together, putting them back together, learning how they work, seeing how they work, you know, like, and it's kind of funny and silly sometimes where you put a gun together and then you realize that you can't see through your red dot because your gas block is blocking it.
Yeah.
And then you have to play a whole before we had a firing range. You had to actually play a whole raid with just I can't see shit. And that's my fault. That's my fault that it's like that. And like for me that explorability of gun builds has just always been so vast that you can just have so much fun. You can make the 19 recoil HK416 from like 11.3 that a lot of people used. Like you could go into resort and that whole lobby is all using HK416s with 60 rounders, and it's just you would leave with an entire backpack full of spare suppressors, spare voodoos, and spare magazines full of 995. Every single raid. And like some people would be like, oh, that's kind of boring, isn't it? And yes, it did get boring eventually, but for the time that I did enjoy it, it was incredibly fun. And just and on top of that, like I have meme guns that I have just saved up here forever that I will always use. I've got a PP19 build called the Green Hornet, where it's literally just the most expensive PP19 that you can imagine with 30 rounders and green tracers, and you snipe with it, and you literally just shoot angry green bees at people. And it's just like there are so many games out there that do shooting well, and there are thousands of fun FPSs in the genres, but none of them really kind of hit that customizability and that fun factor of weapon modding that Tarkov does. And it's exclusively because of just how expansive weapon modding is in Tarkov, and it just continues to get more and more and more and more and more. You know, like back in the day, there'd only be like 10 weapons that people would actively use. Now there's like 60 plus. There's 70, 80 plus different weapons. But you can go into a raid, and every single person you run into is going to have a different gun. And and you can then take their gun out and be like, oh, I like this build. I might try this build out, you know? And then like before you know it, you're saving up presets of other people's shit, and people are saving up presets of your guns because they like your guns. And it's just like, I don't really think that any other FPS has actually gotten that down pat like Tarkov has. And that being said, and I know that this is probably going to be one that all of us wholeheartedly agree on, no game has ever gotten the adrenaline pumping, high octane, heart racing PvP correct like Escape from Tarkov has. And that's why, and I actually wrote it down on my little notes over here for me to refer to. The last 3 minutes of Veritas's video is the first time I have felt anything for Escape from Tarkov in literally 3 years. I actually wrote that down. And because it was that nostalgia factor of me first getting into this game when this game still scared me. When I still worried about shit. And like, you know, now that I'm old and jaded and I've played this game forever, I don't care if I take a fucking 5 million ruble kit into raid and get killed with it. Who cares? I'll just put on another one and go do it again. But like, I love that feeling of my heart beating in my chest when I'm playing a video game. I love when I've got a 3-man around the corner and my two buddies are dead. My hands start to shake. I can feel the pulse in my fingertips and in my neck. I love that feeling. And playing games like DayZ and Rust, like, you know, things could definitely get intense in those games, and you definitely start getting to the point where you start getting worked up a little bit. But Tarkov is the only game that has ever just absolutely just giga neuron activated my brain so much that I just it's unparalleled. And that's why, and that's kind of why whenever the game does poorly, a lot of us just get we get so decisive and so shitty about our opinions, and we start clashing with each other. It's because we all love this game so much. We all love that feeling, just that absolute, just this, like you just took like 8 adrenal stems and just absolutely just shoved them right into my heart, and it's just like I am ready to throw down. Let's party. Let's go. And that's this. No game has ever really done that for me, other than Escape from Tarkov, which is why I keep coming back, and it's why I'll always keep coming back. It's just that this game just does it. And it's just, I love it. I love it for that. I genuinely do. And I guess my number 3, I don't know. Nothing has ever really gotten me this opinionated before. And I know that's kind of like an outlying topic. Because, you know, like I typically don't care about things too much. Like I'm a pretty laid back guy for the most part. I just like to have fun and talk shit. That's really all I do. But if you come at me about a certain way in Tarkov, and I am in the opposite spectrum of that certain way, kind of referring back to the community and the whole rats versus that was popular 2 or 3 years ago or whatever. Team Chad for life, get off my dick. I'm not talking to you about it. But like, it's just like it's just it's one of the few things in my life that I've ever been kind of like hyper opinionated on. And I think that a lot of that comes down to like just me playing it for so long and me building those opinions is because I've got so much I've got so much exposure to this game that it's just I know so much about it. I feel certain ways about it because for me that's just how they've always been. And so then when somebody comes in and they're like, "Hey, this is different than what he's experiencing, but I like it. And I don't understand why he doesn't like it." And then he and I start butting heads over it. Like I don't do that about literally anything else. I've streamed hundreds of games in my several years that I've been streaming. I don't post about any of them except Escape from Tarkov, and I think that that's kind of Tarkov just has that draw factor. It's just like I am the dumb little fish, and that worm looks real tasty right now, and it just continuously does that repetitiously over and over again.
It's there's not that many games out there that have stoked the absolute fires of passion like Tarkov's done. To get so opinionated about it, to feel so strongly about it. We're all junkies at the end with Tarkov. We're all junkies. It's either that or we just love being in abusive relationships, either or. But you know, we all adore everything that it comes with the package. You know what I mean? Like there are things obviously not like about it, problems, but at the once again, the outlying stuff maybe not so great, but the core that we all fell in love with Tarkov for. You know, it's all mutual. And Ultimate yourself, mate. 3 things, if you can think of them. Go ahead. No pressure, but yeah,
So,
3 things.
There's no game in history of games that I've played, and I've played a lot of games, and I've played a lot of military shooter games. I was in the military myself, and there's one thing that I like is guns. And there's no games that has ever matched Tarkov in terms of combat and the fear of unknown inside of combat scenarios. When you hear a player running up and you hear a second player, you have no idea what they're wearing. You have no idea what they're using. You have no idea what the kit that they have on or what equipment that they have. They have no idea what utilities they're carrying around. You have no idea until you actually see that player and you engage in a firefight. You have no idea what type of ammunition he's using. You have no clue of anything that person has, and you're thinking to yourself, where can I go? What is my best shot at taking this person down? How can I place myself? Do I push this guy? Do I not push this guy? What do I have for my kit? What can I use? What are the available tools that I have to push this person? You know, do I throw a grenade now? Do I wait? Do I peek? Do I not peek? Is he aiming down this hallway already, or is he looking somewhere else? And you're looking for audio cues. You're listening for their movement. And if you've played the game long enough, you have a general idea on how people do certain things or how they approach certain corners. So you know he might be peeking this corner, his head's going to be about here. There's no game that approaches combat like Tarkov because most games have a 2 to 3 meta that you have to understand, right? In CS:GO, the AK is a 1 shot to the head, the M4 is 2, and it's always like that. It doesn't change. Sometimes because of net coded, you don't die, but it's a different story. But there's always preset factors that are in place in most of the games that you can understand relatively fast and be like, yeah, okay, I died because I got shot in the head by an AK in CS:GO because I peeked this corner. It's whatever. But in Tarkov, you don't have that. You have this like weird spot that you don't know anything about your opponent and you have no idea. And there's 10 million things at play, and it gets your heart racing and it gets you thinking because you have no clue what to do next, or you have an idea and then it doesn't work out, or it works out, or it completely changes in the split of a second because then you thought there was only one, but then there's another guy coming up behind you to your right, going up the stairs, and you're like, where do I go now? What do I do? I'm confused. I don't know what to do. And then you try something new and that you've never even tried before, or like Tarkov does combat in a way that no game has ever done combat for me, and it's refreshing. It's always nice, and there's no 2 raids that are the same. Regardless of how many times you play customs, you're always going to die in a different spot to something different. I don't think I've ever died to the same thing twice in the whole 6 years of playing this game. The second thing that Tarkov does well is the development team. I've never seen a game where the development team is so involved with the community to the point where we have memes made about them, to the point where we know their names, to the point where they do streams on Twitch and we clip them and we make stuff and that they repost themselves because they like it so much. We have I wouldn't say a personal relationship with the developers, but we have a more closer relationship with the developers where they're always involved with everything in the community. They're always there. They do streams when they change big changes. They'll do streams for Christmas. Nikita will dress up as Santa Claus. He knows about the Pestily microwave thing. He'll put a USEC hat in the microwave just to laugh because he's involved in the community. And it's one of those things that not every game is lucky to have. We're lucky to have BSG as a development team, and I think they're really great. even though they make questionable choices sometimes. But that's okay. You know, every game will make questionable choices at one
Yeah,
point
of course.
during the development cycle. But they're just so involved with the community that it makes the community and the game itself feel special. It has something special going for it. And I want to take BSG a lot. They're really great. Even though I never received my package for Twitch Rivals because they sent it to the wrong address, and I've never gotten that box back. They owe me Tarkov gear. But yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things where, you know, even Nikita put himself in the game, and at one point in Streets, you know, he has his own coffee shop, and I think he wants to be a boss eventually as well. So the community is really heavily involved, and there's memes as well. Like there's some scavs that have like meme names. I can't think of them top of my head, but like some of them reference a bunch of like IRL things or like like one of the scavs was called like One Leg for, you know, for one pig, things like that. You know, it's just they're so involved in the Tarkov community that it feels refreshing and different. You don't really see that with many games that has gotten as big as Tarkov. And the last positive thing about Tarkov that I would like to add is probably, it's kind of a weird one, but there is, even though the community is wild, there is no other community like Tarkov. There isn't. There just isn't. There's streamers play, big streamers play in general. They recognize other streamers. They instantly know who it is. They praise them. They talk about other content creators. They share things with other content creators. They fight each other in the game. They laugh about it, and it's memed on and clipped for months on Twitter. It's the community, even though there's some negatives, there's a lot of positive as well.
Yeah,
and
naturally,
the streamer space for Tarkov is crazy different. They have people making tournaments. They have fundraisers for people that have, you know, got their one guy. I can't remember his name, but he got his computer stolen. You know, and the community banded together for that one day.
Devilhawk.
To get him a brand new computer. You know, there's people from all sorts of different backgrounds that jive together, even political backgrounds, that it doesn't even matter when it comes to Tarkov. People just want to play games and have fun with each other. So the community, especially the streamer spaces, can get pretty interesting. There's some crazy things that have happened over the years in the streamer space that's make the game really interesting. You know, a lot of things have happened, and you're like, Jesus, this is pretty cool. You know, like I'm glad to be part of this community. You know, especially like how the streamers and the bigger players have been around for so many years are like really not involved with the development team, but can have a sway, just like Veritas did with certain things that have changed. Yeah. And developers actively listen and are like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. We'll change it. We'll look at the stats and the data for a few months, and if we feel like we need to increase it a little bit, we will. If we need to lower it, you know. But the masses have spoken. There's a good video about it. You know, we'll listen to them. So the streamers do a lot of good things for the game, and the streamer space in general is just, it's cool. Everybody knows everybody. I don't think I've ever seen a directory where like everybody knows everybody. If you go to Tarkov directory, you can point at one guy and then point at the next one. They probably know each other. Yeah. They've probably played together. They've probably interacted in some way or another that they just know each other. And it's cool. I've never seen this with any other game. Call of Duty is too big to begin with, but like I can pinpoint one guy on the Call of Duty directory and then point to the next one that's like 2 rows down, and I guarantee they don't know each other. Yeah. You know, so it's cool. The community has been around for so long. And that's one thing too. The community has been around for so long that it's the only game that they play. So naturally, everybody's going to know everybody. Yeah. And it's cool. It's honestly very cool to see, you know. And unfortunately, it's getting to a point where it's not really like that anymore because it's getting too big. Like Tarkov is getting really popular. And I think we might lose that eventually, where not everybody's going to know everybody. There'll still be like the outliers that know each other because, you know, they've been around for so long. But there's so many amazing content creators now that I can't even keep track of it. Like there's so many people. I've seen clips of people that I've never even known before on Twitter. They're like, do these insane like 6, 7, 8-man wipes and customs, you know. And I'm like, Jesus, who is this guy? I've never seen this guy before. You just started playing Tarkov last week. What's going on, dude? Like, who are you? Why aren't you bigger? Like, and it's crazy because there's so many new people coming in, and there's so much talent in the Tarkov community. There's in the ads that they just created, the ad tournament. Where Bro, there's so much skills and like talent in this community. It's insane. Everybody wants to get involved with everything. I wanted to get involved with the ad thing at one point, and I was like, I don't know what I can bring forward to look at these things, bro. It looks like actual ads for alcohol on TV. That was
my thing too. I was like, I could do something like that, but I was like, I can't compare to some of these.
I seen one for whiskey, bro, and I was like, I want to buy this for real. Like, what is this? Like, this is like a real commercial. And like, there's so much talent in this community. Like, what's his face? Junker.
Oh my God, Junker.
Yeah. Like, Jesus Christ,
His-
it's so nuts, bro.
His wipe videos are some of my favorite Tarkov content.
Yes, I
Like,
watch
just on
every
YouTube.
wipe, and
Yeah.
it's just like there's so much talent, and there's so many different people in this community. It's actually insane. I've never seen anything like it. And like I've played Counter-Strike for a long time. I've played, Squad and Arma, and like I've never seen this. I've never seen, even in Call of Duty, I've never seen this. The only time you'll see these kind of interactions in like Call of Duty is like with Dr. Disrespect and Tim the Tap Man and Shroud, like
Pretty
those
much.
three guys.
Yeah.
But in Tarkov, you get this with everybody, and everybody knows who these people are, and it's insane to me. Like I've never seen anything like this. And like, yes, we've talked about that the community is toxic earlier, and I know we did, but there's a lot of positives. There's a lot of good shit.
Of course, yeah.
And I remember there's a guy on Reddit that fixed, there was something with like always use physical cores or something like that when they changed the Unity engine.
Yeah.
There was a guy that did like a long Reddit post of like how to fix it and how to make it better, and the devs fixed it because of that guy. They actually were able to solve one of the issues that they were having with stuttering and shit. And I'm just like, you don't get this with any other game. And never mind trying to tell Activision how to fix their frame rate, because they're not going to listen to you, because the game's been abhorrent for years, and Warzone. But if people were like, hey, Activision, you should do this to fix your game, they're not going to try it. They're not going to care. But in Tarkov, they're going to be like, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll test it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of positives. The game is like no other game. There's nothing like it. I've never played anything like Tarkov. I don't think I ever will again either. I don't want to if something else comes out, honestly. I've had enough. My heart can't take it. I'm getting old. Lost all my hair. Listen, I started going bald when I started playing Tarkov, and I don't think it's a coincidence. I really don't think it is. I swear to God, it's not. Like I had a full head of hair before I started playing this game. And I started playing this game, and now I'm bald. And I'm just like, there's so much stress. I guarantee you, Tarkov shaved off like 20 years off my life.
I've got gray hairs because of this game, man. I know that for a fact. Yeah.
Like, dude, sitting there and you're hearing three guys run above you, and your heart's going 5,000 miles an hour for half an hour can't be healthy. There's no way that's healthy. There has to be some science made on this, dude. There's no way that's healthy. Like, I swear to God, it's because of Tarkov. I want to get a biologist to study me, and I guarantee you I could pinpoint Tarkov is the reason I lost my hair.
Do a case study on the effect of Tarkov has on a big group of people. Like,
I'm telling you, but yeah.
Just compare him to a room who plays like Candy Crush, and then another room who plays Tarkov. 24 hours, see the results. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
But one negative about Tarkov though is and I know we're not supposed to do this, but I just want to add it. I'm tired of the realism thing. I can't stop with that.
Yeah,
stop with the realism.
Yeah.
Community, you guys need to stop with that. I can't anymore. Every time I hear that, I just want to be toxic. I can't.
Realism.
It's like, we have stims that lower your body temperature enough for thermals not to see them. There's nothing realistic about Tarkov.
We have literal enemies who will sit and growl at you, and they'll rush you down with knives.
Yeah, with knives. Like, there's nothing realistic about this, and it's okay for it not to be realistic. I want.
Yeah, of course.
Unique,
yeah,
and that's what it is.
Yeah,
the game is unique.
Yeah,
but they need to stop with this realistic.
Listen, you are more than welcome to use the realism argument in actual mil sims like Arma, but Tarkov is not that. Tarkov is in a fictional zone in the northern region. It is set. The factions, the fictional. Everything is fictional. The only real, the most realistic thing about Tarkov are the guns, not the recoil, not how you can mod them up even. Just the fact that the guns exist IRL. That is the most realistic part of the entire game. The realism, the realism argument are used by, God, what was the phrasing that Veritas used in his video? Something like elitist douchebags sweating their asses off in the mama's basements or something like that. You know, it's like,
I think it's because BSG at one point. I think BSG at one point used it on their website, if I remember correctly. It was like as realistic as can be, and as realistic as weapon combat will be, as close to realism as possible.
Yeah. There are elements of realism in the game, but there are also elements of realism in the Division, in terms of how people move. You know what I mean? Like, and taking cover and stuff like that. There are elements of realism in a lot of games, even like high fantasy games. There are elements of realism. But if you make a game as close to realistic as possible in every aspect, not just certain aspects that give you a certain unique experience, but every aspect, it is not going to be a fun game. I don't care what you say.
I think everybody can agree with this too. Like recoil, if recoil was realistic, nobody would want to play Tarkov.
No, it would be the days of the HK, like Josh was referencing earlier. No guns moved back then. There was no recoil.
Everybody would use SMGs. Everybody would use Vector. There's no recoil in the Vector.
Yeah.
The thing is made to have as little as recoil as possible. while throwing as much bullets as you can downrange. If we had realistic recoil, everybody would complain because a lot of these
too easy
don't have as much recoil as they do with Tarkov. They really don't.
Yep. But I appreciate you slipping in the realism argument is bad.
I just think as a community we have to stop going like, but this is not realistic. It's okay. It's okay if it's not realistic.
It's okay. Yeah.
It's fine.
I agree.
It doesn't have to be. It's trying to be unique. The game's trying to be unique as possible, and it is. And they have to keep doing that. There are some things that I wish were a little bit more realistic, like the weight. The weight is a little bit more now. But it's not as bad as it used to be. I don't believe a PMC that's been in the military for X amount of years can't walk around with 25 kilos on their back.
Yeah, I think Veritas made a good point in this, is that you should always regenerate stamina whilst walking. I don't also think you should constantly lose stamina by crouching and standing up. I think that's probably one of the most bizarre things that BSG have added. Yeah, that's one of those either way,
realistic, but it's stupid.
I don't want this it's like I don't have arthritis, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
coming soon, my PMC needs this shit.
There are some things I was like, there are some things that are realistic, sure. They're just not fun. Like Squad doesn't do that. There's a reason why Squad doesn't make you drain stamina when you crouch. Yeah, it's a core game feature that you need to find cover. Nobody wants to sit there and crouch and wait half an hour to regen stamina because they're tired. You know, there's some things that are. It has to be playable realism.
Of course. It's a game at the end of the day. The game has to be enjoyable. At the very fundamental level, it has to be enjoyable. You know,
the crouch thing, I hate that. Also, not being able to crouch in bushes or prone in bushes. Can we stop with that? Yeah, I think you can't crouch in bushes.
I'm okay with this change.
Like you can't crouch.
I'm okay with
it.
I'm okay.
Or you can't prone. I can't remember what it is. You can't crouch walk in it, or you can't prone.
You can't
prone in bushes, but you can go prone and crawl into bushes.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. That's dumb.
No, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with
it. You should just be really slow and really loud.
Yeah,
every bush in the game should just have thorns in it, and you should just get cuts whenever you want. Don't sit in the bush. Come play over here.
But and there's some things too that I'm wondering what they're gonna do, because like they want to introduce lockpicking, but I'm like, what are we gonna do with the keys then?
Well, a lot of games, and I think this is probably what they're going to do with that, is that there's always going to be like an alternative to the usual route, but it's going to be a very rare or expensive alternate route. So I think that lockpick's going to be something like, it's going to be like a one-use thing. They're going to be super expensive. And, you know, I think that's what they would do. In the Tarkov sense, that's what I can see them doing at the very least. But yeah.
And I can see where they're going to with the game, like, especially when you look at Streets. And Streets is so open, and like everything is so like far away from you, and like I can see why M203s are becoming more commonplace now. Because if they're going to expand all the maps to be like that, because they want to, you know, M203s are going to have their place in Tarkov because they have their place in combat. They have a purpose, and I think every 5-man or 4-man or 3-man is going to start having one person with a grenade launcher for a guy that's posted in the window 300 meters away trying to snipe you. You know, instead of trying to slow peek and get an angle on him and get a headshot, you'll just be able to throw a grenade launcher into it. Even if you miss, that guy's probably going to move and not want to stay in that window anyways, which gives you an opportunity to start moving up, you know? And they're going to introduce in RPGs and AT4 soon and like actual rocket launchers. Like that's going to be another thing too. Like people are going to be upset at that, but it's going to be cool to see because it's going to change the landscape of the firefights that we have.
Yeah.
You know, I hope those things can go through walls, dude.
Yeah.
I really hope so.
And
I cannot wait.
So mad.
I cannot wait to just AT4 360 like off Skybridge on Factory. Just jump off 360 AT4 some idiot in the fucking head, and I'm gonna clip it and I'm gonna show it to everybody, and I'm gonna be proud of myself.
I'm excited for the launchers. I really am. I'm excited for the BTR as well. I hope it shoots back at you.
Yeah, but I think this is gonna segue really well into one of my favorite things about Tarkov, and I've had extensive conversations with Dan Exer about this too. Is that the potential of Tarkov? And how I think a lot of that potential is being realized or has been realized in certain systems. Other systems need a bit more tweaking before we really, really see potential. But there is so much potential in Tarkov. There is so much to be done and to do. You know, the devs have a long way to go before this game fully releases. We can all agree on that. But the things we have gotten added over the years, the scab bosses, you know, sometimes they're a bit cheesy, but they're pretty cool. Seeing the different programming, seeing different strategies the AI use and stuff like that, the potential there. You know, look at the potential of the increased calibers we'll be getting. We got our first 338 Lapua rifle several wipes ago, and the sheer potential that caliber has. Now we have grenade launchers, which, you know, were originally added. I find it funny, actually, because in a tournament client game I played, I was able to mod a grenade launcher onto an AK. It wasn't even in the game yet. That was, I find that pretty funny, but I digress. All this potential for Tarkov. And I will say this, and I will continue to say this. I may have quit the game, but if we can get, even if it's half the issues I personally have with the game, looked at, fixed, or avoided, like certain decisions they make with certain systems, overtuning them, and yada, yada, yada. If we can get all this stuff sorted, if we can realize the full potential of a lot of these systems, like we do keep doing, giving feedback and stuff like that, I'll come back to Tarkov, gladly. Won't even think twice about it. You know, and I think that's what, and I think we'll finish this on, is the fact that no matter what we think about the game, no matter what we feel about the game, what the game could use, could do without, etc., we all get giddy and excited when we think about what Nikita says he wants in the game, what could happen in the game. We all get excited. The passion stoked all over again, you know. When I think about what Tarkov could do really well, or if I'm looking forward to a change that's going to be coming in for a long time now, you know, look at the ammo changes. You know, the fact that for the longest time I was telling Bishi, please make this ammo craft only and or found and raid only. Don't let us buy it. Just let this ammo have 5% of its place in the economy and stashes that it should do. You know, when this kind of stuff happens and I see the potential this has on the player base and gameplay, I always get excited. I get excited the same amount I used to get excited on 4 years ago, no matter what. And
I think people need to realize too, we're approaching a stage in Tarkov, and I don't know if people have put the dots together yet, but we're getting grenade launchers, we're getting rocket launchers, we're getting weapons with different fire rolls, but we're also going to be getting light machine guns and heavy machine guns soon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think people are going to switch their team compositions to actually have roles and
role playing,
because then we'll have medical, we have more intensive medical, advanced medical stuff coming out. You'll be able to, you know, get knocked out and you'll be able to pick your partners back up. So you'll need a dedicated medic. You'll need somebody that can cover that medic with maybe a light machine gun. You know, the roles I think are going to have a place in Tarkov because they do in combat. You know, everybody has a specific role that they play. Right now in Tarkov, you just do whatever. You load in with guns, ammo, and grenades, and you chuck grenades, and everybody's a grenadier in Tarkov.
Yeah.
Everybody just does.
We're jacks of all trades. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think eventually we're gonna get to a point where people are actually gonna have a role and they'll choose a role.
Yeah.
When they start playing Tarkov, and I think that's great. I'm excited for that to come out in the future. I don't know how the community is gonna perceive it or receive it, but it's definitely gonna start changing the landscape a little bit, especially with Streets. Like Streets is one of those maps where I feel like I need a grenade launcher on me.
Yeah. Because
everything is so far away, and I'm just like, I don't want to try to put 50 bullets into that window. I just want to chuck a grenade at it.
Yeah.
To get that guy out of there. Like, it's one of those maps where it's like, it's so well crafted, even though it runs like garbage for some reason. It's such a good map. It's honestly one of the most impressive maps they put out in a long time.
I agree. And going back to the role thing as well, imagine the scenario where one of your teammates gets knocked out or is, you know, on the verge of death, and the medic is there, hooks the body, tries to bring him into cover. Imagine being the guy who just shot at him, and then suddenly you see that one of their teammates looking at you with an LMG. The LMG's not really hitting you, but suddenly your screen gets really dim because you're being suppressed to hell. You find your PMC not moving so well because you are suppressed. That opens up the window for them to move that body out of the way. That opens up a window for you to try and get a different angle away from the suppression and take out the LMG. There's a lot. That's the potential I'm talking about, you know, and I think that these are all incredible things to look forward to for Tarkov. As someone who's quit, as someone who's coming back to it slowly, like yourself, Ultimate, someone who's kind of like, you know, just trying to have a good time like yourself, Josh. These are all things we can all agree that when they do come in the game, we'll be there to check it out. With that being said, guys, we are cracking on. We actually passed over 2 hours of talking, if you can believe it. Jeez. We're going to leave it there. That's going to be the end of the CLAYCAST. It would be unfair of me to do this. Well, to not do that, I should say. Josh, where can we find you? Plug whatever.
OnlyFans.com. You can find me over at twitch.tv/JawshPawshTV, JawshPawshTV. Hi, come swing by sometime. I say a lot of really stupid shit. I'm very opinionated, and I make a lot of really, really, really immature jokes.
Yeah. That's that. I can vouch for that. That's Josh's stream to a T. An ultimate, same teammate. Where can we find you?
Nowadays, you won't find me in many places. I don't really stream. I still stream sometimes, but if you guys want to see, I'm on Twitch. Ultimate KC _. Sometimes I stream Tarkov. Sometimes I stream, like right now, I'm streaming Dead Space playthrough. But I stream when I have time. I'm just too busy with work. But you'll mainly see me playing with Dottie Hack. I always play with Dottie Hack every day. We
Block Daddy.
Tarkov. Yeah, we've been playing Tarkov together for years now at this point. And you'll see me in One Peg's channel. I moderate and stuff like that too. So you'll see me a little bit everywhere. I'm really all over the place when it comes to the Tarkov community.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the main place you'll see me is with Dottie and One Peg's channel. That's pretty much it.
And there you go. Well, 2 people I can vouch for. Check them out in whatever medium they'd like to check them out in. And the closing message: we all love Tarkov. There are things we don't like about it, but at the end of the day, we all share the love for it. That's all this comes from. With that being said, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I appreciate you guys for checking this episode out. And thank you for letting me be able to do this, to bring on these amazing people. And at the end of the day, we talk about the good, the bad here, but we always finish on a good note. With that being said, guys, we're going to leave it there. Take care, stay safe, love you all, and peace.